I may as well be the first to ask this question, because I suspect that it's going to get asked a lot over the next course of 17 games. But if that is the level, and if they continue to produce performances like that, why not Michael Carrick long-term?
I said it before the game, and I say it now. I think why not give him an opportunity? Like I said before, you've got managers who we consider to be top level managers, the greatest managers. We talk about Guardiola, Zidane, Arteta at the moment. Those guys manage teams, you know, the B team of Barcelona, the B team of Real Madrid, and an assistant to Pep Guardiola, and they went and had amazing success at top football clubs. So for me, I think the timing, you know, could you argue, cool, yeah, there's bigger names that are going to be available. If he builds something here in these next 17 games, what would be the point of bringing someone else in to build off what he's built? Like, give him an opportunity. He might grow into becoming a top-level coach, and we go, fantastic. Like, I like the fact he's an English manager, he's getting an opportunity, and today was a performance that you look at and you go, listen, if this man can build something, he deserves it for me. I don't see the point in looking elsewhere, and you can always say, yeah, that looks good, oh yeah, that looks nice over there. You know what? Stick with what you got, baby.
Would you give him it, Roy?
I'll give him what he wants. Yeah. Signed a contract.
Maybe it's to do with the blend of the coaching staff.
No, listen, again, we'll give credit where it's due. Absolutely fantastic. But let's judge it over the next few months. Again, the key for him, I think, now is try and get momentum into this team, this belief. Again, no other distractions, focus on the league matches. There's quality players there, as we know that. They've not had that. They've not been consistent enough. And today they've got a clean sheet. They maybe have two centre-halves now, experienced players who can get a partnership together and stay injury-free. And all these little things fall into place. You've got a striker, players coming off the bench having an effect. But this, maybe some of the PR with Carrick has been a good over recently. You just mentioned, because he's an English coach, the English media will be pushing for that. Even Man United, he's done well today, but let's see over the next few months how he does.
It could give them a real headache, couldn't it, Mike? If they were to do well, and then would you, if you were in Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada's shoes, to then say, thanks, Michael, but we're going to go in a different direction this summer?
It's difficult. I said that, I was asked when I was doing the League Cup on Tuesday, and they said, I think it's a bit of a conundrum that they find himself in, because if he puts in performances like that, then you have to really give him the job. But I was speaking to Gary before the game, and he just wants someone who's elite. But someone elite coming here doesn't automatically think success. So
like a Jose Mourinho or Van Gaal.
It is a difficult one. But I think what I like is not just about him, it was the players buying into what they was doing on the pitch today. If you look at the way Man United defended today, it was all together. But not only that, when they defended, they could get out. When they played the other system, it's sort of like they was locked in and then they had no way to get out. And on that transition, I thought that was fantastic. That we talked about before, about the Johnny Evans in there and people like giving them confidence. You mentioned Steve Holland, and he's a person who does that. And that's what I think Man United have missed over the last 18 months.
But they've won one game.
No, but the previous manager won one game. It's a manner in which you win a game.
But
if United would have fluked this game 1-0, I would tend to agree with it. But they had 5 and 6 clear opportunities. They defended well and they looked organised as a group. Mixed in with confidence as well that Carrick had given. I'm not naive and say give him a job now.
He's only been there for 3 days. All of a sudden, no.
But they needed the lift. This was about a lift.
It was more than that, wasn't it?
The formation change for me is key. The previous manager, Ruben Amorim, played a formation that didn't suit the players.
Fletch changed it.
He did, but there was players missing.
He had 2 or 3 players missing.
It's that feel-good factor.
You don't know about if you look at a lot of managers' careers and timing, and Carrick's coming here to United, I think it's the dream scenario for him to come in. Everyone's available. You got Manchester City at home, who haven't been. They've been offered a little bit. You're at home. You got players available. You could have a man sent off. Time and a little bit of luck. They've made the most of it. I'll take nothing away from him. I'm happy to give credit where it's due. And fantastic today, but everyone just calm down.
I'm calm.
That's me saying
I'm calm. But what I'm
even
saying,
more down.
No. I'm staying up.
You're saying give him the job.
What are you saying, Daniel?
No, because you know what? I think today buys him a bad result or two. I think a performance like now, if they lose next week, it's like, you know what? Well, last week.
But his target. What's his target? To finish 4th.
Yeah, Champions League.
4th. Or getting to
maybe
Europe.
5th as well.
5th, of course. But getting to Europe, but 4th is realistic. And you're going, well, that's what Man United should be thinking. We shouldn't be sitting there going, scratching our heads going, well, could United finish 4th? But even the last week or two. Even the last week or two, when we've been doing games and we've been disappointed with United, we've been saying, But fourth is a realistic target.
But it hasn't been the case, has it? For once in the last 4 seasons, I think they finished in the top 5.
I know, but the last few months we have been saying, but because of the way the league is at the moment, there is a chance for United to finish fourth. It's not miracles we're talking about here. And if he gets to fourth and he doesn't get the job, it'll still lead Carrick to get another job somewhere, because people look and go, listen to the way he's handled himself, he's been great, he's been cool, and United plays in a positive way. Okay, but most people who would have took this job today would have played that way.
Well, let me ask you a question. With the players that Man United have in their squad, where do you think they should be finishing? Because if you're saying that they're not ready to win the league yet, so Champions League is realistic. So if they finish in the top 4, right now that has to be
Well, I felt the last
positive.
few months they were going to miss out. But when you see a performer like that and everyone's available, you're thinking, and because of the way the league is this year, the way it's probably, a lot of teams have been inconsistent, barring obviously maybe Villa and, of course, Arsenal, where City have. You're thinking, yeah, it is a realistic chance, but there's 5 or 6 teams would be thinking that. But if the team can play with that quality and energy week in, week out, and that is the key, then of course they've got a chance of it. Absolutely.
It's for Manchester City. Where does this leave us?
I think if Arsenal win tonight, then that could be it. I've always sort of stumbled on the Man City, Arsenal, but I just think for confidence as well, if Arsenal go there, Forest, and win, then their confidence will be too high. I don't know if Man City can claw it back like previous seasons when they go on these amazing runs. And I say that because defensively, if they're getting Gay, maybe they can take it to Arsenal. Brought in Osimhen, who's done ever so well in the last couple of games. A bit quiet today.
Michael, you said defensive, but they're not scoring.
Yeah. But if you keep clean sheets, you'll always back City to get 1 or 2 in the games normally. Today, that wasn't the case. I think the wider issue for me is how easy it is to play against Man City. And that's not just blaming the defenders. Rico Lewis didn't have the best game today, but how easy you can get through the lines. And if Rodri is in a position, there's so much open space.
Rodri at the end, oh my goodness, I was watching him, obviously the one that was disallowed, when he gives it away and he's running back, he looks shattered. But absolutely shattered.
You hear that tone from Pep Guardiola, Daniel, and it's sort of talked about that performance around the sort of development of the team, you know, the way the team is progressing. But they've just signed, as Micah says, Antoine Semenyo for 65 million now. Mark Gahey for another 20. They could have got him for free in January. They've done it now. That seems to be a team that wants to win right now, that is not prepared to just let Arsenal take the league title. Yeah,
I mean, they're trying their best to figure out a way. I think this season is probably the one season, maybe in the midfield areas as well, that they're lacking a true partner for, say, a Rodri or a Nico Gonzalez. I think Reinders is quite attacking, Cherky's attacking, Foden's attacking. So in turn, you've got a multitude of attacking-minded midfielders in there with only one who's thinking about the defensive side of the game, alongside the wingers who are also attacking, but their job's to defend. I think that's why City are quite much easier to play against. They've had the Kovacic's of this world, the Gundowans of this world, and the list goes on. I think now the future of the team will be the involvement is, can they become, again, to Michael's point, more difficult to break down and get chances against? They usually control games. Today wasn't that day for them. But you'd like to think with the signings they've brought in that they're gonna challenge. Yeah. It's just, can Arsenal take it by the scruff of the neck and go ahead and do it?
The big shock today, I know Pep's mentioned it, but they looked the physicality wasn't there. I know they've had a bit of busy schedule in a midweek game.
Well, is that the consequence of fighting on 4 fronts?
Well, it can be, but even, you know, sometimes even City on a bad day, looking back the last few years, you think they'll still turn up and have that physicality and obviously energy, and then they show their quality. They didn't even have that today. That real intensity wasn't there from the first minute.
Neville podcast. Normally we review the whole weekend. There's only been one game this weekend so far, though, and it is here at Old Trafford, where Manchester United, as Gary's smile would suggest to you, have just beaten Manchester City by 2-0, and it was, in the context of the last couple of years, Gary, a really remarkable United performance.
Absolutely incredible, even at 0-0, Peter, even after 15-20 minutes. I talk a lot about intent. I was asked a question earlier on this week about Manchester United DNA, and I think it's quite clear what it is if you support Manchester United and if you play for Manchester United, what it is. Being aggressive, having an incredible attitude, making sure that you are positive and have purpose in everything that you do, that you play the ball forward as quickly as possible with real quality, that you sprint forward in your absolute droves as much as you possibly can, And I've seen everything and more there today. I don't care if they lose games. I don't care if they draw games. We can never be bored here. And that, look, the goals help. The results help. But performance, I keep talking about performance. And look, what's happened in the last 3 days? They've appointed Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick, I know him very, very well. He's composed, he's class, he knows the game, he's intelligent. He's got a good understanding of what a Manchester United performance looks like. He played in probably the best Manchester United team, really. When you look at Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez, Giggs in that front line, you're never going to see world class like that, I don't think, again. So for me, yeah, I can't believe what I've just watched. I've done 8 of Manchester United's last 10 games. I've seen Burnley, I've seen Wolves, I've seen West Ham, I've seen Everton here, I've seen Bournemouth here, and I've seen nothing like that. And the system matters. The system matters. You know, it does. I'm surprised that Ruben Amorim didn't get a better performance out of the players. But what's plainly obvious here to see today is the complete shift in attitude and intensity and everything. Everything. I mean, look, that's not good in some ways for the players in the sense that they've been able to shift, but they're not responding to something. They're not responding to a message, individuals, a system. I don't know what it is. But how that transformation has come from the last 5 or 6 weeks, from that Everton game where Manchester United lost to 10 men to today, that is one of the best performances you'll see in any era, by the way, by a Manchester United team in a football match. That's an unbelievable performance from start to finish. If you said to me, what do I want to see? I want to see a 4-4-2, really compact, engaging, aggressive. I want to see doubling up of wingers and fullbacks working together to nullify opposition wingers. I want to see 2 central midfield players tight together and combine and stop the ball going into Foden in a number 10 position. I want to see 2 centre-halves be aggressive against a great centre-forward and nullify him. I want to see a combination of 2 centre-forwards, Fernandes and Mbeumo, and then Cunha when he came on, making sure they're linking together and playing off each other, but also blocking passes into Rodri to make it not make it easy. Everything that it's a very simple system, 4-4-2. Played it all my life here, and it's about basically the combinations of pairs. It's about the way in which pairs work together all over the pitch. That's a left winger and a left back. It's a right winger and a right back. It's 2 central midfield players. It's 2 centre forwards and it's 2 centre backs. And then you might have your left-sided centre-back with your left back, and it's pairs all over, and how they're compact together so that they can play with each other. When Manchester United's wide players got the ball high up the pitch, you often saw Shaw and Dalot very close to them. You know, Shaw's played left centre-back here. I don't know how many times in the last 6 months, and I've been screaming for him to go forward and get close to whoever his left wing-back is. He's been sort of holding back. Just go. Just go. And look, I got quite emotional when that goal went in of Mbeumo, because to be honest with you, I thought, oh my God, that's what I have been asking for. It's what everyone in this ground's been asking for. We know what it looks like. We don't have to win. I keep saying that. There's no right to win at this club. And we might lose the next 10 matches, I don't care. But the intent to do the right thing is there. But those players have set themselves a standard today. I have to say, they've set themselves a standard in attitude, in aggression, in positivity when they're playing with intent and playing through the lines. Everything. You can't drop below that. You cannot drop below that. And look, credit, I don't know what Michael's done. I have no idea what he's done in 3 days. What could he have done in 3 days to even turn it round from, say, the 2 games that Darren Fletcher had? Let's forget about Ruben Amorim. The 2 games that Darren Fletcher had against Burnley and against Brighton in the Cup, where's that come from? So, look, there's definitely things that I've seen out there today that have been instilled in a 3-day period, because they're completely different. But he's gone back to something that this club looks like. Now, like I say, I'm just happy. I'm happy because I don't have to come onto a podcast at the end of a game and talk about crap that I've watched and Manchester United fans booing and talk about how the negativity around the club and the players can't. I'm so happy to be able to see something that resembles what this is and what everyone here should be aspiring for. And it is not a time to get giddy or carried away, even though Manchester United fans should celebrate till their heart's content tonight and go for it and have the night of their lives, because these moments are rare and have been rare in these last 10 years. But it has to be. Michael Carrick has laid a foundation today for the next 4 months. And if he can continue to lay that foundation here with that level of performance for the next 4 months, the person who picks up the baton at the end of the season can be in a good place. You know, Ralph Rangnick came, it didn't quite happen in terms of that handover. When Ole came in and got the role, if you like, for 6 months, he then got given the job. Michael Carrick's got to hand that baton over in good shape, and that is an unbelievable start for him. And say well done to him, because he's a brilliant lad, a brilliant player. A good man, and he's put steel and a level of competence into their organisation throughout the game. And it wasn't, by the way, sit back and defend for your lives. And this was a bit different. So yeah, look, I'm really proud of what I've seen today, and I'm happy for Michael. You know, I'm happy for those players, to be fair. But I would ask the question: where's that been? That attitude, that intensity, that determination, because that's all we've really wanted to see, to play with a bit of fight and a bit of heart, and it's come.
We'll finish on Manchester United because it is, as you quite rightly say, their day, but for balance we've got to see it from a Manchester City perspective as well. First of all, I have to put to you that many watching that game, and with respect, you were outvoted in our studio at half-time, thought that Diogo Dalot might have been sent off. So please address that again, if you will. And then just see the game from City's perspective.
Yeah, I was surprised. Look, I thought yellow was right. I still think yellow was right. There are many, and we've seen already in the studio, Roy, Mike and Daniel have said that they think that that's a red card. Now, I was surprised, actually. Sometimes, you know, when you're sort of firm in your position, then obviously these things are subjective. And at half-time, the three lads said it was a red. Mike Dean, obviously, who sat on this gantry with us many times, said he thought it was a red. So you start to question yourself. But what I thought was that, and I'm looking at it from purely a sort of full-back perspective, it's a bit like if you punch someone, it's a red. If you slap someone, it's a yellow type thing. It's almost like. So to me, what Dalot's foot does, the ball's there. And by the way, you've got to take into consideration as well, I think, Doku and what he does and what he is. He's sensational at shifting the ball. So I think he's just gone like that with his studs, and it's not really got a lot of force behind it. If he goes like that and holds his legs stiff and firm, and he follows through with it, and he doesn't do that little pull away side at the end, I think it's a red. So I think there is a subtle difference, and we were listening to VAR and what they thought of it, and he said he read it as I read it at the time, that the force wasn't there in the challenge. It was an attempt for the ball, and Doku's too quick for him, which is exactly what VAR said. You know, I'm sure Howard Webb will do his programme in a couple of weeks, and will show that incident. But that was the feeling of me as well, that it wasn't a red card. It was just, it was one of them that you looked at and thought, oh, in slow motion, yeah, it's on the knee, it's not good. But it was just one of them because the ball was there, the ball was bouncing. So I did think it was a yellow, probably orange. I didn't think it was a red. But I can see, you know, Pep Guardiola, Manchester City fans, I'm sure will just say it's a red all day long. It's ridiculous. You're being biased. You're a United fan. But I genuinely think that I don't look at it like that. If I genuinely thought it was a red, I'd say it. And I think if it's a stiff leg with real force, I think it's basically a red. But I don't think it is. I think it's a bit one of those legs, like he's almost reaching for it with his studs like that. And that's how I saw it.
That aside, and that, of course, will be a big debating point for City fans in particular. That aside, was City a little tepid today, or was it just that Manchester United played so well?
I think City was surprised. I don't think I think they expected Manchester United to come out. I think what Pep Guardiola would have said to them is, look, they're going to come out potentially and be hard and come out the blocks fast, and it might be a little bit gung-ho for 20 minutes, but when it dies down, you'll play through them. I don't think he would have expected the level of sustained aggression and sustained compactness and sustained organisation of this Manchester United team. I don't think he would have expected, none of us would have done, that they would have been so well drilled defensively, but also, I think, in attack. They were so well drilled. I mean, that to me felt like a 4-4-2 system that had been instilled in a team that had played together in that system with a manager for like 18 months, 2 years. I mean, I'd love to do Monday Night Football this week. Don't hear me because they'll probably call me down to London now. But, I'd love to do Monday Night Football this week because, to be fair, you could see comparisons of the counter-attacks, of the doubling up on wide players, of the wide players and the actual fullbacks combining in wide areas in attack, the midfield players playing off each other, the way in which Mbeumo and Fernandes link with each other. Bruno was really close to Mbeumo. I've always said Manchester United's system is such, you have a forward and then you have a number 10. It can be York, it can be Cantona, it can be Rooney, it can be Tevez, it can be Berbatov. Them players that just drop in off a striker. Scholes did it for a number of years. We've always had that most talented player close to our striker and feeding them. And that's what made me a little bit emotional on that goal, thinking of, I actually nearly said it, but I thought I'm not going to get carried away too much. But Bruno was a little bit like Cantona-esque today in the way in which he played. And that's where he's got to play. Be near to goal, be where you can hurt teams, because he's a great player. We don't want to see him back in a midfield 2 in front of a back 3. Is that where we want to see Bruno Fernandes? No. And it's definitely not right. So for me today, I just saw so many things that reminded me of what this club plays like, what their DNA is, what they should be. But for City, Foden stopped. Foden couldn't get on the ball because they couldn't play it through the Manchester United's 2-2-2. They couldn't get it through those. The 2 wide players narrowed in. They allowed it to go to Doku wide. When it went to Doku wide, Dalot sprinted out with real intent. Different. Do you remember the other week? Who was it? Who was it over there that scored a goal against Manchester United? It was Morgan Rogers. It wasn't. I said Burnley, didn't I? It was Morgan Rogers got the goal against Manchester United. The ball went out to him
at Villa Park.
At Villa Park, and who was it? Was it Dalot that was right back? I think he jogged over or ambled over to him, didn't he? I think he did. Yeah. Today, you look at Dalot compared to the other week, or look at Shaw compared to when the ball goes out to their wide player, they're sprinting out to him quickly, and that's what you have to. And then you have to get back in quickly if it recycles back. So there's so many things that I recognise today from what a good fullback does, from what a good centre back does, from what a good midfield 4 do, and what a good front 2 do. And City found that really difficult to break down because Manchester United was so persistent and sustained in their organisation that they couldn't get Foden in the game. They couldn't get the ball into Haaland. Now, the one thing I thought City should have done when they continually kept hitting this red wall and it kept going wide to Semenyo and Doku, maybe they should just simplify the game a little bit and put crosses in. What would that do? It'd make, obviously, Haaland potentially come into the game a little bit more, but it might make them, Manchester United's fullback, just edge a little bit wider, which means then that the opening spaces might come up in the channels. So I didn't think City changed it up enough to be able to actually then create things in a way in which they normally do, which is the chance that Reinders gets when he gets in that sort of channel. You could never get between United's lines, but I think they had to try and be a little bit more forceful with those crosses to try and open up something else, and they just didn't do. They just fell into the trap, City, and United got the goals. And I actually thought half-time United could struggle the second half because they'd done so well first half, but then they just did it again. And like I say, that was one of the very best performances I've seen from United for a long, long time. Honestly, a long, long time. And we've all been conditioned to think maybe it's not been possible, that maybe that's not what it is anymore. You can't play 4-4-2 anymore, Gary. You can't play 4 at the back anymore. Can you not? Okay, well, I think we've seen that we can against the best teams in the league. Now, next week against Arsenal, who knows what's going to happen? We could get pulled apart playing the same system. I don't care. Continue to play the way we play. Wide players, attacking, getting a number 10 close to a striker, having 2 midfield players, one of which can play a little bit, and a back 4 that is really rotating quickly and aggressive, but one full-back that gets forward on the side the ball's on. It's literally programmed into our heads of what it is. Just do it. And the other thing that came today, by the way, was the switch of play. The switch of play to a wide player that goes over to the far side. That's returned today. And wide players that then go and attack a winger at Old Trafford because it's so big. Counter-attacks with 4 and 5 players. So many things that were good and brilliant. I think he picked the right team as well in hindsight. I thought that I was surprised Cunha didn't play for Dogu. I knew that Seshko wouldn't play. I thought that Mbeumo would play up top. But there'll be a point for Seshko to come in, I'm sure. But I think that he got it absolutely spot on.
So last one, Gary, we're very nearly done. But just throwing it forward, as you did to some extent there, talking about Arsenal. Tell me why, because we've had 2 of these a year for the last 13 years, tell me why this might not be another full storm. Why will Manchester United potentially sustain this sort of performance?
No, I can't give you any guarantees, Peter. There's a massive caveat with this. I'm just getting giddy, to be fair, for 20 minutes in my life because we should. Because look, if we'd won today, Manchester United, by playing really deep, scrapping a 1-0 win, and I'd seen like a bit of a scruffy type hang in there type performance, I wouldn't be getting as giddy as I am. I wouldn't. The Manchester United fans not stupid, by the way. They were clapping at half time because they thought, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's what we do. It's 0-0, by the way. They were clapping. That tells you everything. So at the end of the game, obviously they're absolutely buoyant because it's 2-0. But the half-time clap and the appreciation of what they'd seen was because they'd seen a proper performance. So for me, no, it may be a false dawn. It may be a false dawn, Peter. It may be that, but Manchester United are currently sat in the top 4, and I've maintained all year. They'll go out of it, obviously, when the rest of the games come this weekend. But they're sat 4th right now. They should be 4th or 3rd anyway over the last few weeks with the games that they've dropped points in. But they've not shown and demonstrated enough energy, attitude, performance levels or anything. And I've always thought this team were actually capable of that. And we've seen today that they actually are. So, look, getting into the top 4 this season, top 5, would be a massive achievement. I think it's achievable. It's there. There's a lot of work to do to get there. But that wouldn't mean a return of Manchester United. That's not, I'm not getting carried away beyond that. I want to really heavily caveat how happy and giddy I've been in this podcast, just purely because we've been conditioned to believe you cannot play like Manchester United play. That's what I've been told for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Move on. You can't play that way anymore. I'm sorry. You can play that way in modern football. You can. It's just, you've just watched 90 minutes of it. 90 minutes of exactly what I think this club plays like when it's actually at its very best. And that's sometimes unashamedly being in without the ball and just being behind the ball and saying, go on, knock us down, then we'll just counter-attack on you. So no, it's not a time to say that Manchester United will sustain this and then they'll go and carrying up the league. This has got to be a bridge towards potentially getting a European place. Top 5 would be amazing. That would get a Champions League place. And then maybe something else next season. But no, this is not the return of Manchester United, but it's the return of at least something that looks like the club. It's been a pale imitation this last many years, really. Many years. It's been awful. Some of the performances here, you have to see a good one to remind you of how bad the ones have been.
Well, it's been a good day for those of you who are red, Gary. So
Thank you.
Enjoy that. Enjoy the rest of the Premier League weekend. Super Sunday tomorrow, 2 games on that, and a Monday night football as well, which I'm sure will re-examine this derby. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter.
History and DNA of Manchester United. Was that, this afternoon, a proper Man United performance?
Yes, I don't want to get carried away with all that DNA kind of thing. I think we wanted to play well today. We wanted to put things into the game that we felt would help us do that. Certainly want to be good defensively as a whole team. We felt that we had a threat when we had the ball on transition at times as well. But actually, when we did have the ball, I thought we looked dangerous. And so all round, I literally, it's an easy thing to say, but we couldn't ask for any more. The boys give absolutely everything in so many ways. 3 days to prepare, little bits of information here and there. And they took everything on board tactically, and then emotionally were able to deal with it, and exactly like we hoped for, really, and to feel that like we did towards the end, and the whole place. I said yesterday it's a magic place, and it certainly was today, and we all felt that.
So tactically, how did you do it? You spoke before the match about kind of targeting certain spaces. I guess having seen it now in behind and switches of play as well important.
Yeah, obviously, I'm not going to say too much with respect.
It's done now, Michael.
Yeah, but respect it kind of with Pep, and he's such an unbelievable, incredible coach, and there's such a good team that it's not for me to pick them apart kind of publicly. But yeah, I think we wanted to play to our strengths, and we needed to be compact. We needed distances to be as short as possible between the units and between positions, and we needed to move as a team. And I thought largely we did that. A few times it got a little bit opened up, but we still looked dangerous on our front line. I thought the front 4, the 2 wide lads, Ahmad and Pat, I thought were fantastic both ways. And then Brian and Bruno and Mateo's coming on, making a difference, and Mason coming on again and nearly getting the goal. I just thought in general everything kind of was as what we kind of would hope for, and hence getting the good result.
I guess even with the career you've had, football doesn't give you many perfect days. Was that almost as perfect as you get, as close to it.
Yeah, I think it's as much as we could have close as we could have hoped for. You know, to be honest, coming into the game, the change is not easy. Change is not easy for anyone, but to then have to perform on the back of it is. But I've had a real sense for the last few days, and especially before the game, how much the players were desperate want to have that feeling and want to give success and a feeling to the supporters. I genuinely felt that before the game. I could, if anything, I was more concerned that feeling was
spill over
the top, because they're so keen to do well. But I thought they managed the emotional side of the game unbelievably well, and so that made me proud, you know, to see a team and what's my team today and moving forward is to have that feeling, and was great to see, and then obviously to be able to put it all together was even better.
There was maybe just that one moment where it nearly spilled over, wasn't there? The Dalot challenge, which, I don't know, different day, different ref, different VAR, might have gone against you.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you the token answer, but I literally haven't seen it, to be honest. But
well done.
Yeah, no, I haven't. To be honest, at the time I thought he had kicked the ball out, Diogo, but Sam told me, and the fourth official said that he hadn't, so I've not seen it. It was you know, talking about the offside decisions, I've not seen them either, but apparently they were close, and you know, we could have had more in the game, so that's it. Them type of games you're expected to ebb and flow, and there's going to be decisions, and that's it. Today, if they went for us, they went for us, and we'll take it.
You used the word magical earlier in the interview. I know what you did here and how much you won, but was that right up there? Especially knowing it's your team that's done that.
Yeah, that was that for so many reasons. I think that today was special. You know, putting things together quite quickly, coming in and trying to put print on the team, but gathering them together and emotionally getting them all, you know, attached to what we want to do, and I felt that unbelievably. From the staff, from the players, so that it made it a very special kind of day as it's gone through. And I'm not getting carried away, you know, it's one game, so it's really important we don't get carried away, and it needs to be a regular feeling of that level of performance, and that's something we obviously got to get to, in consistency. So I'm not getting carried away. It's a great day, it's a fantastic result, and there's the element of certainly soaking up and enjoying it, but it's definitely not enough. It's never enough.
And just a word on your coaching staff, because inevitably the credit goes to the man who stands in front of the camera, the man who stands on the touchline, but that group you've assembled around you, how much credit do they deserve for today?
Huge amount. I mean, I'm standing here. I didn't do all the work this week. You know, I've done a lot of the meetings and main meetings and team meetings, and maybe, you know, on the pitch and in front of the players a little bit more. But the intricacies of how much detail to give to certain players and individuals and bits of units, you know, that's a skill, and that's why they're here as well, because they're fantastic coaches. So
I feel like you've got a good blend in there.
Yeah, unbelievable. And Steve's got a really calm head and so experienced, and Jonathan and Johnny and Trav, you know, I think we've got a real mix of what we can offer the players, because that's what it comes down to. What can we offer the players to make them better? And you know, these 3 days, you look at the result and you think, yeah, it's worked. We got to keep building on that.
Thank you. Well done.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
I don't think many people expected that kind of performance from United, but not from City either. Sam Wallace in the Sunday Telegraph. The headline is Haaland red face as Guardiola flexes managerial muscle. He says it's hard to bet against City. They have so many good players, the capacity to acquire more, and for now at least the most accomplished manager of his generation. But perhaps the era when City played a style that often felt impossible for any to overcome for a sustained period is over. That's quite damning, isn't it, for Manchester City?
Yeah, it really is. And I think the issue here is that Pep Guardiola's obviously completely changed the style of how City play over the course of the last 12 months. And they play a much more, basically individualistic style, much more direct, probably more conventional. They don't get 80% possession or whatever like they used to. They don't play it like the way they play. It's not all about having the ball at all times anymore. But the problem with that individualistic style is really dependent on the individuals. And if you watch them play this season, even when they've been good, they've been much, much more dependent on Haaland than they've ever been on an individual in the past. You know, the great Guardiola teams were never as dependent on whether it's David Silva, De Bruyne, Aguero, Sterling, anyone, as they have been this season on Haaland. And the problem with that is it's inherently brittle if you play like that, because if your top player goes to a bad run, then the whole team's in trouble. And that's exactly, like, I think anybody who's been watching City this season knows that if Haaland stopped scoring, City would be in a mess, and that's exactly what's happened. You know, I don't blame Haaland. Like, to me, he just looks really tired. He's obviously played tons of games this season. He's not currently at his best level, and I just think that the dip that City are currently in, it was probably inevitable. It was probably inherent in this more individualistic style of play they've gone to.
And Jack, I'm just picking up on what Jack said there about Erling Haaland. The dip in form is evident, isn't it? It's one penalty, one goal, and it's a penalty in his last 7 games. Is it a blip, or, as Jack was alluding to there, maybe something deeper and reflecting in a malaise for Manchester City just now?
There's definitely a bit of that where they've got real struggles at the back. I went to their game against Chelsea at the start of the year, and they were leading until late on when Chelsea brought one in under an interim manager, and it just didn't feel like the proper City. They weren't completely all over them, pulling them this way and that. It didn't feel like a proper, you know, this is City right on the edge. They're going to chase down somebody and really reel Arsenal in. I think it would be naive to say that this is a really big problem for Haaland and we're never going to see him at that level again. A couple of months ago, you know, before Christmas, when City were getting into their stride a bit, there were concerns that maybe it was just Haaland that was scoring all the goals, but you sat here and thought, well, I can't see him stopping. So it's not, you know, if you're going to rely on one player, it may as well be Erling Haaland. But it just doesn't feel like they've quite worked out how to best support him with the players they've brought in as well. We were chatting before, there's a lot that have come in and made encouraging starts and then dropped off. Reinders started the season well, Cherky came in, looked great. Not really seen much of him. Marmoush came in from Germany last season, started fantastically, and we've really not seen enough of him. There's been a lot of recruitment that has looked good at the start. Semenyo's come in, flying start, until yesterday. But again,
he's been great.
He's been fantastic.
He's a super signing. I must say, I think Gay's a brilliant signing.
Gay's a fantastic signing.
Brilliant signing for them. You know, a deal worth, say, up to 30 million quid. I mean, yes, it's extraordinary you were paying that amount of money for a player with 6 months left, and obviously having to reward him with a big contract.
But his actual market value.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, and therefore, they are getting a fantastic deal, whichever way you paint it. It's brilliant business on their part.
And they've gazumped everyone again.
Absolutely.
Liverpool were in for Semenyo, United were looking at him, Arsenal had a look, and they just went and gone, bang, done. And they've done it with Gay as well. Everyone that was, you know, manoeuvring, trying to line up a summer move and trying to, you know,
I think they've done brilliantly. I think he will shore up their defence. I still think, I know people are, I still think they're going to have a say in this season. I really do. Yes, they've had bad days like they had yesterday, but Guardiola's a genius, and I have this little theory that he's made the most unlike sort of Guardiola signings in Donnarumma. Donnarumma's not a Guardiola goalkeeper, but he's an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper. Why? Because he's for here and now. I do think, are we witnessing the end of of Guardiola's amazing time in English football? For me, I think he's been the best manager bar none in the Premier League era, and I think he wants to go out in a blaze of glory. And I think I think if he could do that, I wonder whether that would be his last season in English football. If he went, what a way to go with the biggest prizes of all.
Yeah, and rather like City, everyone wanted you three this morning, but we got straight in and gazumped them all. Let's
start that since Sir Alex Ferguson left with their last Premier League title nearly 13 years ago now, the club has been in this almost perpetual drift, and it's continued into this season. Amorim's now gone. So for the interim, at least, for you, is he the right man to now bring in till the end of the season?
Only time will tell. You just don't know. This could be an absolute success. You go, oh, what a masterstroke this was. Or you could start saying again, oh, why do Man United keep on doing what they're doing? Keep on bringing in someone just to cover over the cracks for another 6 months to get someone else in. So I hope it works for him. I hope it works for him.
Do you think it will work for him?
He started by changing the team. I think that's the one thing. I think there's a saying in life, you know, you keep on doing the same things over and over again, get the same results. It's insanity. And that's what's been going on there. Do you know, that's what Amorim was doing. He's kept on playing free at the back, keep on getting the same results. Madness. He's come in. For me, I think he's shown double respect for Man City, and rightly so, because of the position they're in. You know, playing Dogu and Darlow on the wings, they're only getting back to double up. They're just doubling up to make Semenyo and Doku ain't running at the fullbacks all day. That's why they're playing. So I think he's shown a lot of respect to Man City, and rightly so. You know, it's not the old Man United. This is a Man United that have to show teams respect now.
But also, you need to bring in someone, Tim, even if it is only till the end of the season, who's got a bit of steel about him. He had that very short spell in charge previously. He wasn't afraid, when Ronaldo was still at the club in his second spell, to drop him ahead of a big game. He's decided today that Cunha and Sesko are on the bench because of the way he's set up. Yeah. He's clearly not a man who's afraid to make the big calls. That's a positive thing, is it not, going forward for the rest of the season?
It is if he gets the results.
If it works,
yeah. But it's obviously, I think it's a brave one to leave out Cunha. I mean, Dorgu, for me, is not the answer. I understand why he's in there on the defensive issues, you know, to run back. You can get anyone to do that, in all due respect. I think Cunha's a little bit different. They're going to need to keep possession of the ball. They can't keep turning it over, even though they're going to be very low block and just try and defend their box and make it difficult for Man City. You're going to need, in the end, to take some pressure off your defence and keep the ball, and I think Cunha would help you do that more than Dorgu would. But, you know, I might be wrong. I'm pleased he's got the opportunity to go in there. I think it was a no-brainer.
I don't think Cunha gets back. I think Mount gets back.
Yeah.
I think Mount. I don't think Cunha's running back, in my opinion. I don't think he goes back to the 18-yard box. No. Plus, you don't want him there, do you?
No.
You want him on the other end.
Exactly.
I
think Michael knows he's played as many games as we have in the league. He knows that in the end you're going to need to keep possession, and you put people in the positions where they're going to play their best. There's no point playing Cunha there if he just wants to double up on the fullback, and that's obviously what he wants to do today.
And he's played over 450 times for the club, Sue, we shouldn't forget, as a player. 5 Premier League titles along the way, won the Champions League as well. It is part of the thinking behind this appointment as well, to kind of reconnect the team with the fans as well.
Yeah, it could be. And, you look at... It is a short term, you would presume. I know that nobody's officially come out and said that, but you would suspect it is until the summer, when there's more managers become available. But, yeah, he knows the club. Like you say, he's played for the clubs. He's played for the club. It would increase that connection with the fans. But they could have gone down different routes, couldn't they? I think, obviously, the first route they could have gone down and gone for that absolute elite manager with a proven track record that has got the know-how of winning trophies, but are they available at this moment in time? So they'd probably wait until the summer for that. They then could have gone with somebody with Premier League experience. I know, Iriola was linked, Marco Silva was linked. There was a lot of Glasner was linked. Or they've gone for the third option, which is obviously the Manchester United link and the Manchester United connection that can bring the fans back on side. So yeah, hopefully it does work. I think the people that he's brought in and around him should help him and help him sort of in this interim period. But if he does a really, really good job, it's a bit of a problem then, isn't it, for Manchester United? What do you do? Do you keep him on?
That's the fascinating question, isn't it, Dors? Because we saw what happened with Eric Ten Hag. He was on the verge of going, wins the FA Cup, gets a new contract, he stays, gets a load of money to spend, and ends up going out the door. So if the Sue says, listen, they're only 3 points off the top 4 heading into today's game, they're absolutely in the race for a Champions League place next season as things stand. If they get a Champions League spot come the end of the season, it's the only thing left up for grabs for United out of the cup competitions. What do they do then?
Well, it's the million-dollar question. Do they, in my opinion, go down the same route that they've done with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Eric Ten Hag, when it looked like he was out the door and won the FA Cup? I think they have got this time, and Michael Carrick has 17 games, and at the end of that, they will say thank you very much, regardless of what he does, because they've got time to go and find this right manager, and I believe they would be doing that. I think one of the managers who will come in, he's in a job at this moment in time, whether it be at the World Cup, whether it be in the Premier League. But what Michael Carrick can do, he can only focus what's ahead of him. And I listened to his interview there with Gary Neville. His demeanour, his calm, his presence. And I played with Michael Carrick when I first went to Spurs, and that's him in a nutshell. He's very calm, and people have questioned maybe some of the coaches he's brought in. None whatsoever. Every one of those coaches that's gone through that door has got a role to play. He's brought Steve Holland in. The experience, the know-how. He's been in and around. He's been at big football clubs in Chelsea and done really, really well. He's been at international level, done well. He's brought Jonathan Woodgate in, who we worked with at Middlesbrough. See him there walking up Martinez and Maguire. People say, Johnny Evans, he's never coached. Johnny Evans knows these players. He was there at the end of last season and left.
He knows the football club. This is a short term and he needs a response.
But Roy Keane's point, which is made very, very, very strongly in the live coverage a short time ago, I'm sure it's all over social media at the moment, he just simply doesn't have the coaching experience. Yes, you can know the club. That's not enough, though, is it?
It's a role, Simon. They all have a role to play. We all have a role here to play. That is what Johnny Evans will be going in and doing that. And people say, oh, is he needed? He knows these players. Michael will be leaning on him to go, give me a little bit of insight to all the players and help him. Is he going to be doing loads of coaching? Probably not. He's got no experience in that. But he has a role to play.
Steve Holland's a shrewd move, though, isn't he?
Very shrewd, because I've just said, he's been there, he's worked at big clubs, he's worked on international levels. He knows how he will be helping Michael. Give Michael credit. He's worked at Middlesbrough and people go, it's not Manchester United. Of course it's not. It's in the Championship. But he's got an affiliation with Manchester United and that's why he's been given the opportunity. And for Michael to go in there and try and galvanise his team. You've just said the 3 points off the Champions League places and it could be a success for him, but I don't see it as long-term.
And Tim, coming back to that point about were they to finish inside the top 4, where does that leave him come the end of the season? Do you sense he'll already know where he stands, whatever happens come the end of the season?
Absolutely. It's the first question you would ask as you go in there and speak to Jason Wilcox and Omar and just say, am I here? If I win the 17 games that are remaining, am I here beyond that? And they... Listen, I think it'd be fluffy of them to say, you know, let's just see how it goes. I think Michael will know that he's not getting the job at the end of the season. Man United will go in a different direction. It is probably going to be one of the managers who are managing in the World Cup. The problem any manager has got, we keep saying manager, they want a head coach. They do not want a manager at this football club. And the likes of Thomas Tuchel, for instance, Mauricio Pochettino, they want to be managers of the football club. They want to run the whole shebang. I'm not sure going to get that luxury at Manchester United, so they're going to be on the lookout for a head coach. Going back to the credentials of Michael Carrick, I think he's far more equipped to manage Man United than Ruben Amorim was. Ruben Amorim come from Portugal. Yes, he did very well in Sporting Lisbon, but it's a Mickey Mouse league compared to the Premier League. This is a very competitive environment, which Michael Carrick, we talked about his playing credentials, what he's done at Manchester United, over 400 games for this club. He knows the Premier League. He knows the environment. He hasn't got settled to the environment. He knows how huge this football club is. So I think it was a no-brainer to bring him in on the short term. And I think he 100% knows that he's not going to be here for the long haul.
Do you agree with that, Merce, that he has got more experience than Amorim has in terms of English leagues? We saw what he did at Borough, particularly that first season when he took over from Chris Wilde. I think they were 21st at the time, and he took them roaring up the league with 13 wins in his first 17. Is that a key part of why they've gone for Carrick? OK, Premier League, head coaching, managerial experience, not there, but he knows the English leagues, he knows the Championship, he has got English coaching experience.
And he knows the club. He knows the club, and that's why Johnny Evans is there. He's there because he played for the club, Man United. You don't want to bring people... It's so different playing for Man United and your Arsenals, your Man Cities, your Liverpools, your Chelseas, to this end of the table. And in Portugal, you know, they're a lot more dominant. You know, Sporting and Porto and Benfica. But when you get into European trophies, they don't produce in the Champions League, or they haven't for a long time. So... They know what it's like. And too many times they brought players in here. And I heard him say, sometimes they bring players in that are not winners. You know, you've got to be a winner. You've got to win every game. You know, if Man City beat Newcastle... If Man City... I don't want to put Newcastle in it because Newcastle are a big club. But if Man City go and play... If Bournemouth go and play someone next week and they get beat 3-0 by Man City, nothing said. Even though we don't think Man United are great, if they get beat 3-0 today, this is headline news. You know, see, it's a massive advantage for Carrick and for Johnny Evans. With the players, he's played here, it's experience. You don't want to be coming here and going, oh, my God, this is a lot bigger, this club. Oh, my God, we only lost 1-0 to Man City and we get absolutely destroyed. So got beat 2-0 last week at Newcastle, owned by them, and nothing was said. So I can see where they're coming from. And, you know, it might not be experience of management in a way of... If they lose 6 on the trot, then it's a different game. For all the experience he's had at Middlesbrough.
You listen to him there, that is him in a nutshell. As a player, as a person, he will always be like... I just said to Sue, he's level-headed. I think...
I might be like that in the camera, but if you've lost 6 games on the trot and you're sitting in your office...
But he wouldn't be showing his hands. He wouldn't show his hands. I'm telling you, he's perfect fit for Manchester United.
I'm sure Tim went in at Aston Villa and thought, I went in at Walsall thinking I'd be a little bit cool. I'd sit there, lose 6 on the trot, and I'm like, ah!
Julian, I think, forget about his football ability. We all know how good he is. He came in, said hello to everyone, asked people questions. He just come across as a real humble superstar, and I think that's credit to him and his upbringing. He was a real joy. We're just talking football. You can see he's a football obsessive. He loves the game, and he's been born with so much talent. You know, I think he's a player that I just enjoy. I remember being here and I spoke to him about that Arsenal game, and I'd heard lots about him. He's had an interesting career. He hasn't always been on the up. You know, he moved from West Brom to Manchester City. Things didn't go as to plan. Then he had a couple of loans and went to Middlesbrough, and Michael Carrick got the best out of him, finds his way to Aston Villa. And obviously the rest is history, because now he's really enjoying it and playing great. Because if you looked at that early career, there wasn't really... I think he was 16 when he left from West Brom to Man City, so you could forget that bit. But it made him to a certain extent. You know, he got the opportunities. Lincoln loan went well. Bournemouth really didn't. Blackpool obviously got him starting to feel a bit better about himself. And in Middlesbrough, he worked with Michael Carrick, actually.
Yeah, he did, and Michael Carrick spoke so highly of him. You know, I think Aston Villa played against Middlesbrough in the Cup, and I think Unai saw him there as well and saw what he had done to Aston Villa that day. So he was desperate to get him here. And, you know, we've spoke so much about him, how he's going from strength to strength. And, you know, I love watching him. You know, the way he gets space and, you know, he finds pockets to hurt teams. And he's one of them players that, you know, when you see him getting on the half-term, you think something's going to happen. He's going to create a chance for someone, or he's going to get on the score sheet himself.
What did you make of his answer that he said to Jamie as well, of not wanting to be one-dimensional, of not wanting to have one thing where if somebody stopped it, they would then wonder, you know, that would take him out of the game?
You know, I think he's clever, he's smart, he's got to work out different ways of where to find the space. And, you know, look, he's dropped so deep here. And he's got a great connection with Ollie Watkins as well. You see the pair, how well they work together, and, you know, just finding little pockets here. You know, you see, OK, you got a bit lucky there, but the finish is, you know, it's unbelievable. And, you know, there's going to be more teams where, you know, how Unai likes to play, and they've got that number 10 that comes in off the midfielders and to try and get that space. But, you know, he's going to have people on his back now, so he's got to move in different positions to get on the ball and to create. And, you know, he's doing that non-stop.
I think it's a great... Not because I've done the interview with him, by the way, but for a young player to watch this interview, the full length, I think it shows you the ups and downs that footballers have and a bit of vulnerability that you get. Because at the start of the season, Morgan Rogers had a great season last season, and comes into this season, obviously they didn't start very well, 1-1 out of their first 5 games. He was getting criticised by his own fans. They were right on his case. He played one European game against Bologna here. He gave the ball away 29 times. And he said it was so difficult for him, his confidence was low, and that Burnley assist that first one he spoke about almost got his season going, then he scored against Tottenham. But it was really good to hear somebody say, you know what, because we all think about Premier League players as being like superstars, they never get down. But he said, I was on the floor with my confidence, and I had to really fight hard to get myself going again. The manager's obviously a big help, the players around him, and right now, he's as good a midfield player as there is in the world because of what he can do.
But he's had those other spells as well, hasn't he? You know, there may have been difficult spells whilst here at Villa, but you highlighted, you know, those 2 loan spells after he went to Lincoln. Did well at Lincoln, but then the next 2 were very underwhelming for him, and he had to bounce back from those.
Yeah, and that's where you have to somehow get through that, you know, vulnerability that you have and adversity, and make sure that you've got the confidence to think, yeah, you know what, I am a good player. And he mentioned it himself in that Arsenal game. He said that was the moment I thought, yeah, I could do this. And that comes sometimes. You know, we spoke about an 18-year-old player in Mane at Wolves. Mane, he's found that confidence and that belief. And to some players, it comes a little bit later. You know, Ashley started his career at Watford. I started my career at Bournemouth, and you get that belief and confidence. And sometimes loans are great for players. But he said, would he have changed those loans? He said, no, I wouldn't. Even though they didn't go well, they've made him the player that he is now. So it's a real joy to watch him. As I say, I was very impressed with him, not just as a player, but as also a human being. So, no, really nice to just spend time with him.
And this is not to say that Villa don't have other great players, which they do. But at the moment, when you look at the run of form that he's in as well, is he the man who is going, I will put this team on my back and I will win these games that keeps us in the title race?
I think he started to show that, and I think that, you know, you look at the goals there and the assists, and, you know, especially here at Villa Park, you know, he's one of them players that looks like the confidence is just oozing from him. And when you've got a person in confidence like that, it spreads amongst the team. And like I say, the connection between him and Ollie Watkins has been fantastic. And, you know, that gives Ollie more confidence in front of goal as well. When you've got someone that's playing as a number 10 behind you, and, you know, is able to find them passes and, you know, slide you through on goal and give you them opportunities. It can only breed confidence throughout the team. And, you know, you looked at him then in the interview. He looked so humble. He looked so down to earth, and, you know, he just wants to do better. And, you know, he's got a great manager there that says to him, you know, if he's not doing so well, he'll give him that confidence to go and keep doing as well as he can. So, you know, he's at a great place, and, you know, like I say, in world football right now as a number 10, I think he's right up there.
We, I mean, Ashley mentions the manager. We had a conversation before you did the interview about what you could find out about what Unai Emery's secret is and what he does. And even after the interview, you texted me afterwards and went, I'm still not really sure what Unai Emery's secret is.
Is that when he was a little bit like, you know, when you hear people talk about Alex Ferguson, where he was sometimes getting to players and he'd be like, so half-time, you think they're playing well. So I still, as I say, but it just feels like...
Because you can't qualify it, can you? It's just something special that he obviously has.
He obviously is a great... He goes mind games with the players, but he gets them to the moment where they feel so good about themselves. And sometimes, you know, it's that stick and carrot, knowing how to treat each player. But he's obviously, like the boys say, he's obviously a genius. And
when we've talked about Man United previously, it's always been a little bit negative. The manager didn't want to change his system. I didn't think it was the right thing to let Emery go in this particular moment. Right. But now you want an ex-player who knows the players.
But what difference is that?
Because when you speak about Man United, it's all negative. You can bring in a player that can lift the crowd, for one, and it can lift the players. So I think it's a smart appointment. Do I think he's going to be amazing? We've got to see that. At Middlesbrough, it didn't work out. But in terms of a short-term plan, I think when you look at the overall picture of Man United, if you want a world-class manager, they might want a world-class manager right now who's not available. For a 6-month period, this might be the best option.
A world-class manager won't come here. A world-class manager won't come and work for me. Why? Because we see what's going on upstairs. The decisions being made upstairs. We have Carrick coming in already. Now we're sitting here going, they probably pushed Holland towards him. Are you telling me Carrick hasn't got the intelligence to say, I know enough people in the game to know who to bring in? We talk about, he knows the club. He brings Johnny Evans. Johnny's got no coaching experience. No, I like Johnny Evans.
He's a former player, though, isn't he, Roy?
Former player. I would just give former players a job then. You've got it. We sit every week in Sky. You got to get the best of the best. We don't sit here and go, you've got to get former players every week. If we're talking about coaching experience, Holland, we'll sit here and he's done all the hours and he's got a good CV. Go, OK, I get that a little bit. OK, but if that's the manager's choice, if that's been put on him, and then you bring in Woodgate, who he knows a little bit, he's got experience, and Johnny Evans, and we say, well, coaching, and you got to get the... You know Johnny Evans has got no... If you're sitting there going, what's Johnny done? I like Johnny Evans, rock solid. I signed him twice. It's not an issue with Johnny Evans, it's more an issue with the club and the decision-making, who they're bringing in. Johnny Evans left Man United about 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, right? He obviously left as a summer player. They gave him a job... Loans manager, OK. Yeah. Leaves that a month or two ago. Had enough of that. He wasn't there for 10 years doing it. A few months. United are letting hundreds of people go, staff every week. But Johnny walks away from that job. Gets called a week later, Darren Fletcher. Now, my issue with Johnny, he's got no coaching. It's not as if he worked at the academy for a few years. But one hand, we're saying you need people on the training pitch.
What's his designated role? We don't know. Is he a defender's coach? Is he trying to show up? We don't know the specific...
OK, but if I finish the point, so he comes in with Darren Fletcher. This is a bit like what I worry about pals acting, wink, wink, and who's making decisions upstairs. So Fletcher brings him in, and Fletcher again has very little experience, but he's worked at the academy level. Brings Johnny. So Johnny gets a phone call from Man United, having left as a loans manager, going, do you want to come back? I bet you Johnny's thinking, what, is the kit manager, or am I working with the under-12s? No, you're coming back to work with the first team, with Darren. You go, OK, obviously a great opportunity for him. You have 2 games, don't go too well. Listen, that's probably the end of that. No. Then another manager coming in, he wants you to stay on as well.
Well, perhaps not everybody wants to do it. What would you have done if they'd called you and said, would you come and help?
Would I come and help Man United? Yeah. No, I'd probably be no. I wouldn't want to work with people above me who are dictating who your staff are, telling you what players you're bringing in. And there's been chaos going on in the background. I'm not saying the previous manager hasn't helped himself, but I guarantee you he'd come up one day and say, listen, there were decisions made
that he wasn't happy with. And most
But he
managers
had
go
his
down
team,
that
though.
journey. I
He had
get
his
it.
team.
And he was stubborn. I get all that, and his results weren't great. And there's no reason why these 4 new staff members, as much as I'm concerned about them, can get some momentum going. They can do.
Yeah, but you know, you make always a point when we've been doing this for the last couple of years together, and you always talk about the dressing room, don't you?
Right.
And someone like Johnny Evans going in that, who's just come out of the dressing room, could help in certain aspects.
In what way, Mike?
I take your point
In what way?
in terms of his inexperience in terms of the coaching, but being in the dressing room, knowing how a modern day
He was in the dressing room last year when they finished 15th.
Yeah, but he knows the group. He knows the group.
Oh, he knows the group, all right. They finished 15th. What was he doing last year when they finished 15th? What's Harry Maguire? What's all these experienced players doing? So if you're a player and you're on about why, and you're sitting in the dressing room and go, oh, I'm going to bring Johnny back as an ex-player. Oh, where's the logic in that?
It goes back to
if you bring
Studge's
back
point,
an ex-player,
what's his role?
No, but if you bring his role,
that's the point.
Well, it won't be coaching, will it? Because I don't mind an ex-player coming back and go, listen, he's been working away in the lower leagues, or he's been getting his hours in. So you're bringing a lad in. You're suggesting to bring him back.
The thing is,
he
Johnny
knows the
Evans
players.
isn't the discussion, though, Roy. We're
That's
talking about
the issue
Michael
of bringing
Carrick.
him in.
We're
Of
talking about
course.
Steve Holland. We're
I
talking
get
about
that.
Jonathan Woodgate. Johnny Evans is
But
coming.
I voiced my
as an
concern about the
addition.
manager and his staff. We sit every week going, United have to get the best of the best. So all of a sudden they're bringing managers in, and I know it's a situation, and that's not on Carrick. You come in, and then I'll take a gamble with 1 or 2 lads who've never coached at this level.
Daniel, let me ask you. Daniel, let me ask
if they were available next week to any club in the world, if they were being headhunted, nobody would come after them.
You said that they can't. A world-class manager wouldn't come here. That's what you said, right?
That's right.
So
there's still lots of good managers out there.
There's lots of good managers, but if you want a world-class, what do you want? You want a good manager, or you want a world-class manager? You want to trust a young manager and give a man an opportunity and say, you know what? We're going to try and build something with you. We're bringing you in. Hold on, we're bringing you in.
Good
we're
luck
bringing you in for a few months. We're going to see how it works out.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
What if he starts here? He's got 17 games left the rest of the season, and everyone's talking about he's got the rest of the season. What if he actually started in the way that he did at Middlesbrough, albeit Middlesbrough playing in the Championship, but he won 13 of his first 17 matches at Middlesbrough? If he does that here, which is a tall order, they'll be playing Champions League football next season. Could he not then earn this Manchester United job full-time himself?
He can earn a job full-time. I do believe he can. I mean, you know, we talk about experience and, you know, all of these different things, but we can look back to the history of the game, you know, and young managers who knew the DNA of football clubs. When Guardiola went to Barcelona, he was Barcelona B manager. When Zidane got the Real Madrid coach, he was Real Madrid B manager. Hold on, but they didn't have big jobs. They weren't like world-class guys. It was, we're bringing in young managers. We're going to give Arteta at Arsenal. We keep bringing young managers in who know the DNA of the football club. Arteta knows the DNA of Arsenal. Zidane knows the DNA of Real Madrid. Guardiola knew the DNA of Barcelona. They were young, inexperienced managers who hadn't done a lot, but their careers were unbelievable. I'm not suggesting that Carrick's going to come in and be anywhere near as good as those guys, but when we talk about the DNA, we talk about a style of play with 4-2-3-1. He likes his inverted fullbacks. He likes his attacking players. If you get them playing attacking football, I believe he can earn the job. I like the fact he's a young English manager, and we're giving him
I could give you a list of experts who went straight into a job and done brilliant. You just mentioned a few. I'm agreeing with you. That can happen. Right. But I'm not sure at this club with the decisions being made above for these staff and the staff he's coming in with. And Wilcox, who's ever making the decisions, and people talk looking for yes men. There's lots of managers out there who are yes men. You have to roll with it. I get that. But where's the evidence to suggest? You're showing the first 17 games. Show the last 17 games. We can do that with any. You could tarnish up my record and go, hey, you don't know.
You had the same impact.
It doesn't mean to say someone's a good or a bad manager. But all of a sudden, we do Sky every week, and we're talking about Man United, the greatest club in the world, one of the biggest. But all of a sudden, we're going to take a gamble on a manager who hasn't got a track record, and his staff haven't got a great track record.
I think you're arguing about different things, though. I think you're arguing about giving a new manager opportunity and what might happen if he does really well. And you're more arguing about the overall picture at Man United. He's saying if Amorim gets sacked, then why have they not got a world-class manager ready to go now?
Because we know there's not one available, me. That's exactly why.
That's why. Do you know, Daniel, but you know what? Can I tell you? A good point. There's no one available. Well, you make somebody available. I always make the point, when Man United rang Everton about Wayne Rooney, do you think David Moyes went, oh, he's available, you can have him, of course, lads, you can have him on the cheap. They went, he's not available. But what you do is a big club, because we sit here every week, Man United the greatest, Man United this and that. You make somebody available. You go and get a manager who might be in a job. You go, they've done that with the previous manager, Sporting Lisbon. They went and paid the compensation. But no, all of a sudden, we got to sit tight till the summer. Man United have to get in Europe this year. They have to get in the Champions League. It's not as if they've nothing to play for. But you know what? We're going to risk an inexperienced manager or a manager who's failed at his previous job. I don't fall for this ex-player nonsense. And we get some staff around them that nobody knows too much about. That's a bit of a gamble, but if they do the business, I'll take my hat off to him. But I've got my concerns about it. Simple as that.
He's just finished speaking to the media. Some huge news concerning both his future as well as the future of Mark Gahey. Let's listen to what Glasner's had to say.
Oliver, it appears that Manchester City are stepping up their interest in trying to sign Mark in this transfer window. What's your latest understanding?
My latest understanding that the deal with Mark is in the final stages. I can't confirm a club because it's still not done, but in the final stages, and the result is that Mark doesn't play tomorrow for us.
And how do you feel about losing your captain at this stage of the season?
I mentioned it a few weeks ago when I was pretty clear that, let's say, every player, and depending on his contract situation, there is a price where a club says we want to do it, and when the player says I want to move on, a deal will happen, and it looks like that this happened now, and that's why, yes, of course, from talking about sports, but nobody in the team will tell you something different. Different is everybody wanted Mark to stay forever. Crystal Palace. Captain and playing here, but reality is different.
Have you spoken to Mark? How does he feel about potentially departing a football club where he's had so much success and he's been such a key figure for the club?
Oh yes, I had a talk to him, but of course it stays between us, what we are talking. But I think Mark has shown it in the summer transfer window, has shown it the whole autumn season so far, that he was 100% committed to the team, to Crystal Palace, and of course I wish him all the best for the rest of his career, and he will have a great career. I think he's still at the beginning of his great career, and he will have a great future because he's a fantastic player and a fantastic guy.
Does it feel like a sensible move for the football club, considering he wasn't going to sign a new contract, and for a club like Crystal Palace to lose a player like Mark Gahey for free would potentially be a problem?
I think this is what, for every club, is a problem if you lose a player for free, but that's the situation. I think on the other side, also the clubs are responsible for the situations because they are paying quite high signing fees for free players. So I think every club has signed a free player. And then, you can't point with your finger on other clubs and you do the same. So I think that's just the football business where we are in. And this is what we have to accept. And if you can't find an agreement for a new deal, these things happen. Yeah, but of course, every team wants to avoid this.
Have you had any assurances that you'll be able to find a replacement? Because clearly there is enough time to find a replacement in this transfer window.
Yeah, we have to find, and let's see.
How have the players reacted to the fact their captain's departing mid-season?
It was for all of us surprisingly this morning, and we had a meeting, a normal match day meeting. I told the players, yes, we're a little bit surprised, but on the other side, I told them, we sold Michael Olise, and it was the best season in Crystal Palace history, and we lost Eberechi Eze, and we are right now 4 points better than last year. With Eberechi Eze. So we always could cope with the situation, and we will show, and it's up to us to show that we can cope with this situation again, losing Mark Gahey, and we will get somebody in, but every player who is here has our trust that he can help us winning games, and that's what everybody, and it's not a hope, because this is what everybody has shown. Of course, on the other side, you never want to lose your captain, but if these things happen, you have to cope with it, and that was really the mood at the training ground was absolutely okay.
There continues to be a lot of speculation around Jean-Philippe Mateta. With the news that Mark is departing, does that make it even less likely that Mateta leaves in this transfer window?
It's the same. There will be a price where Crystal Palace say, okay, 18 months left in his contract. We do the deal. If JP wants, and if nobody pays this price, JP will stay.
Are you confident that this can still be a really special season for Crystal Palace, still well placed in Europe, and the table, the league position isn't where you'd like it to be, but when you look at the table, a few results and you can put yourself right in contention to have a really good season?
Well, yes, absolutely. No, so now it's looking forward, as I mentioned, to the players coming back. So Jeff Lerma can play again tomorrow, and Danny Munoz had one session with us this week, so he will train with us next week and should be available against Chelsea. The same with Ismail Assar. This will give us more options again. And we called back Danny Emery. He will be in the squad tomorrow, but right now the numbers of players is quite short. But we know the last couple of weeks, games, the results were completely what we didn't want them to be. But very often, and we're not talking about last game, but most of the other games, the performances were absolutely okay, and that we also could have won these games. And now it's, of course, when we need a few players back, this is what we just, let's see, and I had time to think about it, what happened in the last weeks. And then always when I get emotional, I go back and really just looking at facts. And then was an interesting also, when we think, okay, what's different to last season especially, and then which players were not available, and they were responsible for 70% of our goals, directly with goals and assists. They were not available, and we couldn't replace them in the way we wanted. So that it will be, therefore it's important that they will come back, and then I'm pretty sure that we will play a very good season, yes.
It was encouraging to see Chadi Riyad feature for some minutes the other day. Is he somebody who you feel could have an important role in the second half of this season? Yeah, he's out for 1 year, and to be fair, he was on the way to Nottingham playing with the under-21s tonight, and we called him back. So he will be in the matchday squad tomorrow after 1 year. Sometimes things come quicker than expected, and he's now training with us. Had one full training week and 45 minutes, and did really well this week. So, could be. And finally, from me, what impact, if any, will Mark being allowed to leave in this window have on what you decide to do at the end of the season with your contract?
Has zero impact, because my decision has already been taken months ago. I had a meeting with Steve in October, international break. We had dinner, very long talk, and I told him that I will not sign a new contract for Crystal Palace. We agreed at that time that it's the best to keep it between us, and I think this is how confidential we work together, that we could keep it between us for 3 months in the football times where we are in. I told the team today the same, because I think it's important to have clarity, and I don't want to have this question and the players and what's going on, and we had a very busy schedule, and we thought about, and again that's why we didn't want to tell it, because we want the same, Steve and me, we want the best for Crystal Palace. So Steve has no ego for himself, and Oliver Glasner has no ego for himself, what's best for him as a person. So we want the best for Crystal Palace, and we think now it's important to have clarity on both sides. I think this is what the players deserve. This, I think, is what every staff member deserves, and I think this is what our fans deserve, and that's why I tell it today.
Considering the amazing success you've had at Crystal Palace, why do you not want to continue your work here?
I told Steve, and I'm just looking for a new challenge, and it's my feeling after everything. And again, that's why I told him in October, so it's nothing to do with the transfer window, and it's nothing. So all these rumors, and I hate if something is written or told that's not true, and it was really tough for me not to respond. And so it's nothing to do. We have a great relationship, and we're really always talking what's the best for Crystal Palace. And the reason is just for me, I'm looking for a new challenge. I haven't spoken to any other club, to any other. No interest, and I told the players, and I promised them today that I will give my best to play the best ever season in Crystal Palace history, to break the points record of last season. So we are now 4 points better than last year we were at this stage of the season. And we will do everything to bring another trophy back to Selhurst Park. We got the draw today. We will play Mostar from Bosnia in the knockout stage, in the qualification round in the Conference League. I had a look at the the tree, the bracket. Sorry, the bracket. So will be quite interesting. Can play Strasbourg, Alkmaar, Vallecano, Fiorentina. They're all in our line, and but we will do our best, every single one. Oliver Glasner has no chance to achieve this alone. No way, told the players. I think for the players alone it's tough, but together it's possible, and that's what I will do. Everything that we will bring another trophy to Selhurst, and again, playing the best Premier League season ever. So a lot to do.
This will be my final question, and I always really appreciate your honesty. You're always so honest with us in the media. Crystal Palace fans had that amazing day back in May, winning the FA Cup, but today is clearly going to be a very challenging day because their captain's departing. Now they know the head coach is going to depart in the summer. Should they be optimistic about the future of Crystal Palace moving forward?
Yes, absolutely, because great people are working for this club, and what I experience is that everybody wants the best for Crystal Palace, and that's for me is always, and everybody is aligned and giving his best. It doesn't mean that every decision is the right one, and it's the same in the sports and everywhere. But I know that this club is in great hands. You say the same in English? Yeah. Where everybody wants the best for Palace, and yes, this is football, and I think not just today. We sometimes see how, let's say, the best days, FA Cup final, and maybe the worst days since I'm here in Macclesfield, is within 6 months. That's what you have to deal in football, and that's sometimes really challenging for everyone, for every player, for every manager, for every chairman. But when you work together, and this is the same, and it's in all the transfer activities, I'm 100% involved. We're always talking about, and that's what I was always mentioning. It's my advice, and then it's about Crystal Palace' future. And I know this club will move forward definitely. And maybe today it doesn't feel like this, but I know behind the scenes everybody's working really hard to get the positivity back. And I think the best contribution we can do, the team, by winning tomorrow against Sunderland. And this is what we will try.
Thanks, Oliver.
Thank you. And sorry, after this, I won't answer any question about my future. So it's really, I want to say this. That's why I said, okay, clarity for everyone. But I'm Crystal Palace manager. I will always talk about Crystal Palace issues, but not about anything else.
Manchester United head coach, and how does it feel to be sat in that chair today?
Very two different roles. Sat in this chair in front of you lot's very different to the role in coaching. Yeah, listen, it's fantastic to be here. It's a great feeling for me to be in this position. I think played different roles for this club and learned to fall in love with the club for so long, and it's a massive part of my life and has been for so long. And so I'm fully aware of the position I'm in, in so many different ways. So as well as that, I'm eager to succeed. We've got a big job to do. It's an important job, and it always is here to win games and to play well and to do it in a certain way. So there's one side of it is nice to be here, but the other side of it is focus, concentration, and a real drive to improve the team and improve results.
Hi, Michael. What does success look like then? Is it Champions League qualification? Is that what success will be?
Yeah, I think improvement. I think certainly improvement, and helping improve individuals. I think a big part of what I really enjoy is improving individuals, and in the end, I think if you improve the individuals, we create a better team. So certainly working with the players and improving them with that, I think. And yeah, listen, results. That's what it is. There's an element of performance, there's an element of improvement, and there's an element of doing what it takes to win in certain ways, in certain occasions. So certainly higher up the league we finish, we want to keep pushing and finishing high up as we possibly can, and we'll see where that takes us.
Has there been any stated expectations from the leadership team?
No, not in terms of. It has to be this way or that way. I think it's like I said. It's we want to be near the top of the league. We want to be top of the league. I mean, that's pretty obvious to say, but we got to take some small steps towards that. And European football obviously would be a step forward, and we got to keep pushing.
Hi, Michael. I was just wondering on that point of leadership, what conversations have you had with the likes of Jason and Omar, and kind of understood some of the Glazer family might have been here yesterday with Sir Jim, so what have those conversations been like, kind of in your new role?
Yeah, I've spoke to Jason an awful lot and working closely with Jason and Omar as well, and over the last few days we spoke a lot, as you'd imagine, and yeah, the owners, the ownership group were in and around it. It was nice to see them and meet them yesterday and have a small chat with them. They're taking care of business in some ways. We were able to share a few things, so wished us all the very best, and it was good to see them.
Michael, I was going to mention to you, when Ruben Amorim left, one of the things that he said in his last press conference was mentioning about Gary Neville and the players, and clearly Roy Keane has immediately waded in. I know there's a personal element to that as well, so it's difficult. But in general, how do you feel about knowing that all these famous Manchester United people are going to put more pressure on you, basically?
They're not putting more pressure on me. I don't feel that. I think it's just part of it. The role, I understand it. I understand there's plenty of opinions around, and some are positive, some are not so much. But I think in some ways, for me, in terms of you saying about putting pressure, for me, it's totally irrelevant in terms of me and how I go to work and what I focus on. I kind of know already what we want to improve on and how we want to work with the players, and I've already said about improving things, and there's a lot of opinions, a lot can be said. It is the way of the world, I'm not going to pay too much attention to the most of that. I think it's not for me to do that. I think for me and the players and the staff, it's a focus on how we're going to succeed, really, and that's our job, that's our responsibility, that's what our focus and our minds should be at, is doing what we can for this club.
But that in particular is quite personal.
Honestly, it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me.
Surgery on the ankle injury. Do you have a clearer time frame of his rehabilitation and when you might expect him back?
Yeah, he did. He had a successful surgery yesterday, which is great news. Everything went according to plan. I think difficult to give a definitive, but I think roughly around 3 months, I think will be the diagnosis that we'll work towards. If it's any quicker, then great. But I think we need to give Fabian now the time to recover. It's quite a serious injury.
The players that you've been able to pick from the last couple of matches, obviously it's been a big physical effort as well, and probably mentally too, because you're back in that period now where games are every 3 or 4 days. What sort of shape do you think everybody is in now? This cycle of relentless football has restarted with a lot more to come.
Yeah, I think, but my personal opinion, there's a bit of fatigue in the Manchester City performance, whether that was physical, mental, after the 120 minutes. And I know not everyone played those minutes, but that was my feeling, having watched the game live and again. Don't think it was us at our physical absolute best, but I sort of understand from the players' perspective the load they've been under and playing under. It doesn't mean we couldn't have won the game, and we were close to doing so, I thought. But I think now it's a case of, between the Manchester City game and Wolves game, to really try and freshen the players up, to try and get us at our absolute best. This is a massive game in our Premier League season, in my opinion. We've built good momentum, and we want to continue that as long as we can.
And you'll be coming up against a team that has seen an upturn in form recently, haven't they, with some results in the Premier League and in the FA Cup. How do you assess Wolves now, perhaps, compared to a few weeks ago?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're in a better place. I think Rob's a very good manager. He's come in and I think he's given them a clear way of playing, clear structure. And I think they're playing with freedom, actually. I think they're playing some really good football. Statistically, they've been a bit of an outlier this year. Their form has not been statistically as bad as the results that they've got, and that's been all season. So I think they've been unlucky not to have more points. I think from our perspective, we don't underestimate anybody. We respect everyone. We need to make sure that we're mentally in our best place because, as I said, this is such an important game and we can't take anybody lightly.
Okay. Eddie, you mentioned the fatigue there from the Man City game. Are you in a position to mix things up ahead of Sunday?
Yeah, it's always an option for us. I think it's always a delicate balancing act, that, you know, how many changes you make to potentially lose rhythm, and we don't want to do that. I think we've been in a good place, both in terms of front of goal and our mentality to win games, even if they've been really tight, has been really strong. So I think the gap between the Manchester City game and Wolves game gives us hopefully enough time to freshen the players up and to lose any lingering fatigue from the Bournemouth game and make sure that we're ready for this one.
Just on transfers again, you mentioned PSR the other day, and then when that story was published, a few people were saying, what's happened to the Alexander Isak money? Is there a big pile of money lying there? I'm sure it's not as simple as that, but can you just give us your take on that, please?
Well, yeah, I don't necessarily count the money. So again, I will react to the information that I'm given, and collectively we come to the right decisions. I don't think it's a case of there's a pot of money stood somewhere. I think PSR is constantly moving and changing depending on our income. So lots of things affect our income, whether we're in the Champions League, how successful we are through the season. So it's constantly changing. You can't ever sort of get one reading on it because it changes on a daily basis. So we're having to react and change to that ourselves as we go through the season. All I can assure everybody is, and I've said this so many times, that if there is money to spend, the club are willing to spend it. There's not a case of anyone holding anything back. But of course, we've got to comply within the rules. We know how important that is.
His future at Liverpool hasn't been decided yet, with his contract set to expire in the summer. And Robertson also admits he's been frustrated by his lack of playing time. The Liverpool vice-captain remains in talks with the club over a new contract and insisted a change in his role this season has not diminished his desire to play. And Robertson had a chance to move to Atletico Madrid last summer, but opted to stay after the club, of course, won a second Premier League title in the space of 5 years. This is what Robertson had to say. I've got 5 months left, and we need to see the option to stay, or if there's options to go. I need to see what myself and my family want moving forward. I've given absolutely everything for the club for the last 8.5 years, and the club have been very good to me. I do have a different role here this season, which I'm getting enjoyment out of, but at the end of the day, footballers want to play, and if anyone is sat happy on the bench, then they don't belong at a football club. Maybe I've not played as much as I would have liked, but it's nothing I've been surprised by. Let's see, he says, what happens. So, did we see this one coming? Do you think?
I mean, there were signs of a potential exit, and you alluded to it there.
Yeah.
When you were talking about Robertson and Atletico Madrid, because last summer, when Milos Kerkez made the move from Bournemouth to Liverpool, I think Andrew Robertson knew then, well, is my game time going to be limited at Anfield now? And Atletico Madrid did come in with an offer, and Andy Robertson has since said that there was a chance that he could have gone to Atletico Madrid, but he decided it wasn't right for him or his family at that stage of his career. He wanted to stay and fight for his place at Anfield. Of course, since that move hasn't happened in the summer, Milos Kerkez has been the preferred option for Arne Slot in that left-back area. And Andrew Robertson has started just 4 Premier League games so far this season. So I think what will have to happen is he will take a look at what happens for the rest of the season. Those talks, as you mentioned, over a new contract are continuing. But if the situation arises where the game time is still limited, I think Andrew Robertson himself will have a decision to make, regardless of whether Liverpool decide to offer him a new contract or not come the summer, because he has still said he's got the hunger and the appetite to play. He's still 31 years old. I think he's 32 in a couple of months. So he's still got plenty of games left in him, and he's still got the desire, clearly, to play at the highest level. He's got the World Cup with Scotland coming up as well. He's the captain of Scotland, isn't he, in the summer? So I think his focus for now, for the rest of his contract as it stands at Liverpool, he'll be there until the end of the season, and then on the World Cup. And then I will think he'll take a step back and say, what would be best for my career and my family moving forward?
It's interesting because I know we're talking about the end of the season, but can they afford to lose him at the moment? Because wasn't it Arne Slot who came out the other day and said, hang on, I need more in defence?
Yeah, they're struggling for defensive options right now. Darmish is right to point out that he's only started 4 Premier League games this season, but he's played 20 times in all competitions. He's clearly still an important squad player this season. He's in quite an interesting position because it's clear that he has been replaced by Milos Kerkez, but you wonder how valuable that experience he has is going to be for Liverpool moving forward. He's still a really good left-back. He's not quite the player he was when he burst onto the scene at Liverpool. He's not going to get those similar opportunities, you wouldn't think. So it's up to Andy Robertson, if Liverpool do indeed offer him a contract, whether he's happy to be a squad player at one of the biggest clubs in the world, or he sees himself being a key player for another big club. I think Liverpool are going to be in a situation either way where they need to make a decision in terms of trying to extend Andy Robertson's contract for 1 or 2 years, or in the summer you think they would have to buy another left-back because we've got Kostas Tsimikas coming back from his loan spell. I don't think his future remains at Anfield. I think he left because he wants more first-team opportunities. So it's whether financially it makes more sense. If they still think Andy Robertson is at a level that can compete at left-back for Liverpool when required, whether they try and keep him on, and that wouldn't cost a transfer fee, or you spend what would be a significant amount of money to sign a Milos Kerkez deputy.
It really does feel like that area of the pitch in defence for Liverpool is going to be so key for them. Maybe even in this month, but definitely in the summer, because if Andrew Robertson is no longer at the club, Ibrahima Konate, even though there are talks over a new contract, he's into the final 6 months of his contract as well. Virgil van Dijk is getting a little bit older, even though he has signed a new contract. They will want to get players in the central defensive positions, and now, of course, at full-back as well. So definitely an area to watch for Liverpool and could be a big priority for them come the summer.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to be sneaky and sort of talk about this window as well, because we're only on the 15th. So potentially, if there are talks, and this is perhaps a little ironic that this has come out now, that he's still not sure about his future, could it prompt him to go? They get the money for him and they could still spend that money in defence in this period at all? Do you think they could make a signing in this window, or do you think this is just about the summer?
They'll always be alert to any opportunities that there are there for Liverpool. I think regardless of whether Andrew Robertson was to leave in this transfer window or not, because just say, for example, he stays, but Liverpool have the inkling that actually it's going to come to an end in the summer. We've always been talking about long-term targets, haven't we? And unique market opportunities. So maybe if they had a left-back in mind that they wanted to bring in to challenge Milos Kerkez for the long term, and he became available in this transfer window, then who's to say that Liverpool couldn't act in this transfer window for that position as well as the other central defensive areas that they're looking at too?
A goal and an assist.
Phenomenal.
He has had his critics.
Yes.
This must at least help get them off his back.
Yeah, look, strikers, it's one of the toughest jobs in the team, and you're judged on goals. And he was a big money signing. We know how well he did when he was playing for Coventry at a lower level. And he's obviously gone off and made his name then again, you know.
Sporting was brilliant,
at Sporting in Portugal. He's a good player. They could be a terrific player. And I think the biggest advantage for Arsenal is the amount of attention he gets. And it leaves that space for your Sakas of the world to run into. Arsenal aren't driven by, and we've always said this, they need to have a golden boot winner. They need someone with 30, 40 goals. Well, the top of the league, they were phenomenal last night. They look unbeatable. They've got a superb defence, and they haven't got a prolific striker yet, and it's not stopping them. So I think he's grown into the role. He's got 8 goals. It's not prolific, but I think you asked me the question, is he kind of a hit or a bust? He's like that on the way up. There is a player in there, and I think he's a confidence player. And you'd like to think, late in the season, tired defences, I think he'll score a lot of goals.
Well, he definitely is doing things to help the team. All right, we've got a graphic we can show you here. I'll have to explain it, all right, because it is quite difficult to word this graphic, okay? But what that means there, in simple English, is that he is the most tightly marked player in the Premier League this season. That's probably the best way I can put it, all right? So if he's doing that and Arsenal are winning every game, surely he is doing his job. And the way he set up Zubamendi, you can see how tightly marked he was, and he's still...
Technically, great pass, the space. When you get players like that in your team, yes, you love a striker who scores 20, 30, 40 goals. But at the end of the day, if he's taking that attention away, and Arsenal have got so much, attacking, goals in so many other areas, that's good for the team, it's good for business. It's why they are where they are. So, but in time you will see, and I said to you, February, March onwards, and people get tired and they've played a lot of games, I guarantee you he'll probably have a goal rush.
Okay, well, I have been defending him a lot this season, so I was quite glad to see him do so well last night. I do hope for his sake that
do you know the biggest problem is? It's always about the value. If he was signed for 10 million quid, he'd be up there as like one of the signings of the season. He's got 8 goals, he's playing this role, he's like an unsung hero. The fact that you throw us at 50, 60, 70 million behind, it's a bit like Isak. Obviously he's injuries, he's got 2 goals, he was the biggest signing in the summer. Straight away, if he doesn't win the Golden Boot, doesn't get 35 goals, he's going to be a bust. It's not always about that, is it? So, if they end up winning the double, title, Champions League, whatever else, and he ends up with 11, 12 goals, 6 assists, is anyone going to remember?
I think Arsenal fans will be happy with the title, certainly.
100%.
Here's a debate that's been going on for a long time when it comes to strikers.
Sure.
At the moment, most clubs, especially Arsenal included, will have a left footer on the right, a right footer on the left. Okay. How much does that impact a striker? Because if you've got a left foot on the left and a right foot on the right, you look up, you straight away, you get the ball to the striker as quickly as you can. Cutting in onto your
the inversions and everything else.
Yourself, you can lay it off.
Yeah, there has to be a lot more. There has to be a lot more patience for your number 9 when you're playing with strikers coming in all of the time instead of going out wide and putting the ball into the box. It really is down to style of play. It's also about, are you a possession-based team? Are you playing low-block teams? What kind of strike you are, your movements? Look, we can also argue the best in the world, the Ronaldos, the Messis, never had a problem scoring a goal a game. But you could also judge, well, they didn't play in the Premier League all the time. Ronaldo did through periods of his career. We have to give credit to people like Mo Salah, who's not a traditional number 9, and you look at his data and his record, and whilst he not always play the best player, he's always getting goals, he's always getting assists. It does come down to styles and formations, and that's why you see it. I still think an Eddie Howe way of playing is different to an Arteta way of playing, and I think the big fella they've got at Newcastle they bought will end up scoring a lot of goals based on the style of how Eddie Howe plays.
And they do tend to play a right foot on the right-hand side, in fairness.
Correct.
In depth on Chelsea at 11 o'clock, but just a quick one on Liam Rossini, first home game in charge. Did you see positive signs or reality check?
No, positive signs. It's probably a bit of both. He's a big boy. He realised that, it's not going to be all perfect. He's not going to win every game and smash teams to bits. What he would have liked is the response from his team at going 2-0 down. You're playing the best team probably in England at the moment, and you're under pressure, and it's your first home game per se in a big event like the League Cup, and they could have been out of it. But they go now to the Emirates where they're only out of it by 1 goal. Chelsea's a good team. Under him, they're going to be a very good team. I like the style. I like the way they played. I like some of the younger players, and that was a baptism of fire for him, as well as his first Premier League game being his first Champions League game being. But as an advert for the product, it was a great game to watch last night. It was end to end. You could probably be a bit critical of both goalkeepers, but the rest of the football was fantastic.
Yeah, it was a brilliant game. Sky Sports are partnered with Finalysis to discover true fan opinions. Have your say on your club. Download the Finalysis app, scan the QR code there for more details. Let's speak to Arsenal fan Toby Parks now. Good morning, Toby. First of all, let's start with Gyökeres. What did you think of his performance and what have you made of his season so far?
Morning, Tom. Morning, Dara. Yeah, good question. I mean, his physicality has always been his strength. We know that he's not a touch-tight Ekatike or someone like that that's going to be able to dribble around a player or anything like that. But being a bulldozer, being a physical player and dragging away players is something that really is his strength. What I would say is I think over the past few months, past couple of months since his injury, I think that's been weaning a little bit. And I do think that, I actually feel like I made a call on our weekly podcast that I think he should start getting confidence from the bench, coming off the bench now that Jesus Havertz are back, but actually giving him that week off and him not playing against Portsmouth, his physicality was there in abundance last night, and he looked every bit the player I think we thought he could. There's still a few things obviously he could improve, and it's going to be about consistency. And what I would say is I think he's always worked really hard, and there's no fan that's upset with his work ethic or anything like that. I think there's a bit of a quality drop there in some scenarios that we know is there. It's just how we can get it out of him. So I felt a bit sorry for him. I think when he scored a goal, he almost looked a little bit shy going to fans to celebrate. You can see the other fans really try and make him part of the group and pushing him over, like you're seeing on the screen now, actually. So I just hope he can really be part of that group and kick on.
It was nice to see him score. He also got an assist as well for Martin Zubimendi. This season, quite often on this show, we've asked who is the signing of the season. Can you make a case for Martin Zubimendi?
Definitely. There's so much great about him that I didn't expect. He's one of those players that, you get excited over the summer and you look on YouTube or whatever, and I think you don't quite know what you're going to get, and it's not really a highlight reel kind of player. When you sign these, deep sixes, deep playmakers from Spain, you expect a relatively fragile, very good with their feet, quick kind of feet player that's just going to pass the ball from left to right. And what's really surprised me is just how strong and almost front-footed he is in every scenario. And now that he's adding attacking elements to his game, the way he passes very quickly. We have players that can slow down the game when we need to slow down the tempo, and we have players that can speed it up. And Zubimendi is one of those that can do both. The way he can put balls over the top. I think there was a finish, I can't remember, it was one of the best goals of the season, the volley from outside the box off the corner. I think it was against Forest. I can't remember, but he's adding so much to his game. And last night, he was just electric, and off his left foot in so many different scenarios too. It's going both ways, which is something that, again, I just did not expect from him, and I always get surprised every game.
I'm shocked at how well he settled, how quickly he settled in the Premier League, because usually there's maybe a 3 or 4 month bedding in period and they're in and out and whatever else, but he is truly world class now. I mean, what he's come in and done in the first kind of half of the season, and you look at now Declan Rice and freeing up players to be able to do more, and like you just said there, he's not just your traditional 6. He can pop up with a goal. He can pop up with that creativity when it's needed. And I am amazed how quickly he's adjusted to it all. Superb signing.
Yeah, he's been very well. Arsenal's transfer business has been praised a lot over the last few transfer windows. One of those who came in this summer was Kepa. What did you think of the decision to keep him in goal for this cup?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? We've got to find minutes for him somewhere. He was Bournemouth Player of the Season last season. Ultimately, still technically the most expensive goalkeeper ever to have been signed, I think. So, he was a little bit rusty, I think, against Portsmouth. He got better into the game. He saved quite a few great shots from Esteval last night. So as a shot stopper, he seems like he's getting there. What I would say is that difference between coming for crosses between him and David Raya is them worlds apart. And I'd still give him the game at the Emirates. We're a goal up, and ultimately this is a team that we should really be beating at home, given that we've got.
Okay, what happens in the final? If you win the final, do you want to see Raya or Kepa?
I'd like to see Raya, particularly against City and with Haaland coming in. I feel a bit bad saying that, but ultimately, I think it's a one-off game. I think he's had his chances and played in quite a few different games now. He's a £5 million keeper that we signed, a great guy to have around. I think we've given him every chance, and I just think David Raya in a final at Wembley, I think that comfort, particularly if you're playing against what I imagine will be City, or even a very, very, very physical Newcastle, I would like to see that personally.
What would you do, Darryl? What have you done in the EFL Trophy in the past?
Yeah, mixed and matched. But when it came to the final, the manager played our number 1. But Liverpool, interestingly enough, I think played, Kevin Kelleher, in recent League Cup finals. Yes. I think Alisson didn't come in, particularly when we beat Chelsea a few years ago. It was Kelleher in the penalty shootout and stuff like that. So, that's down to Arsenal, the thirst for winning that trophy. Or we get, or you go with Raya. I'm not.
And I think.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, carry on.
I think. With Liverpool in particular, I think what they were in that scenario, they were picking up a lot of trophies at the time as well. And I think, to be honest, Kelleher is sensational as a goalkeeper. Yeah. And I think you can probably trust him in those scenarios. Yeah. Again, I do like Kepa.
No, I get it. I get the apprehension. I get it. The big occasions.
You haven't won anything in a few years.
Yeah.
I think it's important to try and get over that line at your best at that point if you're in a final.
Yeah, and don't forget, if your manager wants to sub him, he'll refuse to come off, right?
Well, I remember when that happened. I remember when that was Sarri. Was it Sarri at the time?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Final question, Toby, and this is one that might get you back up a bit. The most threatening winger on the pitch yesterday, was it Esteval?
Oh.
Yeah, definitely. I think he looked electric. He in a couple of years he's going to be something else, because it looks like he can finish. A little bit of a temperament, which you can expect coming to a new league when you're 18, but he looks something else, to be completely honest. And the way he was ripping past a few of our defenders, yeah, he's an exciting player. You know, a bit untidy at points, but ultimately getting unbelievable shots away. He's kind of all over the place in lots of different ways. Perhaps could learn quite a number of different things, but some signing. Quite jealous.
We were speaking all fair before, and we were talking. I said like 18. Like, can you imagine him at 22? This is world classness developing right in front of our very eyes. When you see a player, fair play to Chelsea, the recruitment team, you know, where they've plucked him. He just looks like he's going to go bang, 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 bang. You know, he could be as good as anybody when I see him. Like, with all due respect to the current wingers. And as a Liverpool fan, I'm like, when Salah leaves, give Chelsea 120 million for that kid. Telling you now, you could have your wing sorted for the next 10, 12 years.
Yeah,
I mean, they like selling players, so you'd be fine with that, I imagine.
Well, don't forget they win trophies as well, you know. So,
come back to me in a year. We'll see what happens.
All right, okay, Toby, thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Since a winger scored the type of goal like Semenyo scored, is that like Raheem Sterling, probably the last player who got goals like that?
Yeah, we know. I think in Bournemouth have done with Aula. I think improve a lot this kind of scrappy goals, or in the opposite side, right to the box. Leroy, especially Raheem, was extraordinary with that. And yeah, the Semenyo, Jeremy always will push you to right to the box. Of course, when Phil or Bernardo play in that position is another situation. Xavi always will encourage them to the wingers to right there. And yeah, it's really, really important. We have to score a goal. There is no secrets. You have to bring people in front of the goal. There is no secrets of that. And yeah, we make one goal. Another one was not conceded.
And I know we talked about Max Lane a bit. But how good was he, especially in the last 10?
Good test. Yeah, good test. We saw almost all transition team after with Voltamate. With the ball have been extraordinary defensively. I cannot be more grateful to Pezzolano, Javi Garcia and Watford, because the fact that they took that minutes that yesterday in the press conference, he was playing the second team with academy, with the 10 people going to Watford in the championship with strikers, long balls. Wow, they make a step up as a football player. Defensively, always a little bit inconsistent. And today was an incredible good test. Of course, has Nathan and Kusanov alongside that. They are proper defenders. Help him a lot. But in terms of with the ball, with Nico Riley playing in that position for maybe I remember since 2 years ago. And they play really good. And in general, first half people up front were not connected in our game. And second half, Erling and especially Antoine, they were much better.
Sure. Pep, should Antoine's second goal of Sterling have been given any explanation of why it's offside? Any of the explanation since?
Why we signed him?
No. Any more explanation of why the goal was ruled out?
It's a good question. I say now, so I would like to know why VAR in the 60 minutes in the Premier League game against Newcastle that we lost 2-1 with 0-0. It was an insane penalty for Sharp for Phil Foden, not even say in consideration. And at 20 minutes, there is an unbelievable penalty for the shoot for Jeremy Doku that Theo in the hand and not even VAR. Today, 4 people were not able to decide because the line was, I don't know. But the second goal, the Newcastle scored, that was perfect. It was perfect, the line. So I said, but I'm not suspicious of that in 10 years. So I didn't say anything when we lost 2-1 here. No. I didn't say anything when FA Cup final against Crystal Palace is red card after 30 or 40 minutes for Anderson. He played 52nd minutes. It's really a red card. Did I say anything? No. But, okay, it's fine. But the fact that we don't say, I'm pretty sure Howard Rapid is going to call me tomorrow to take an explanations on that.
Rob? Yesterday, when we spoke to you, you talked about coming here and the group growing in places like this, stadiums like this. Given the injuries that you've got at the back, particularly in defence, how big a performance was that?
No, I don't. But I like for the fight because it was, listen, when you play semi-finals or finals, this kind of thing, that they win 0-1 or 0-0, 0-2, 1-1, because after 0-1, with the 5 minutes, they can equalize, and after that, it's more difficult. So in these games, the little margin, the difference is so the other one. Listen, I'm zero suspicious. In 10 years when we lost semi-finals in the big competitions in league here, I didn't say anything. In the touchline sometimes, but nothing. But, come on, in the same stadium, what happened, we had intervened, and take a look. Take a look in the 16 minutes, 20 minutes. Take a look at the 2 penalties. Come here in the Premier League, you win 0-1 or 0-2 in advantage, it's a big difference for us. And I don't give any credit to Newcastle. That I can say they won deservedly the game in the Premier League. But why didn't intervene in these 2 games? And today was more than 6 minutes, and not even were able to discuss it with the referee to do it. But they will call me. That time they wanted to explain to me.
On that, I was watching you while the decision was being made. It took 5 minutes 30 seconds to be saying an offside. You know more about football. If it takes that long, then it can't be.
There should be the line for 1-0, no? It's 5 minutes. How many seconds?
5 minutes 30.
30 seconds. I thought 30 seconds. It was the margin was so small. But the second goal, in the moment the frame touched the ball to score the second one, that was tight too. Take a look.
Sorry, can I just ask you as well about Antoine's performance as a whole?
Second half was much better physicality, helped us defensively. Today, Bernardo was again. You cannot imagine how player is Bernardo Silva. This club will be missed. The moment hopefully can stand I don't know how many centuries, but they have a special. That guy, what does it mean to play football, be competitor? That guy knows all the rules, absolutely everything. So. But everyone was excellent, because I like when that situations, always I said to the guys, that will not be changed. What happened today is an example, never ever will be changed. You have to be better and be better and be better. It's the only change. That's why we were champion a lot. We never complain internally. Today a day, because listen, I like it, but it's inside is be better. That has to count on it. You have to be better and be better in all aspects. And today with the difficulties, the injuries and many things, and we make a step up.
The players were understandably angry after that disallowed goal, but how impressed were you that they kept their heads on the pitch and then scored that second?
I think they were angry, except the one action immediately, the momentum for Newcastle that is normal, that they were angry. And in football, in these competitions, in these semi-finals, and any competition, you have to play in that way. Maybe help us, to be more. But look, Rico, how he came up. Brian Cherky came up. Brian Nuri came from yesterday from AFCON. The action is that, and everyone make his absolute contribution, the same like last FA Cup game or the games against Brighton. And I know it's a pity because the games we played against Sunderland, against Chelsea, and against the other one was really good. And we didn't score. Yeah, it's fine. It's happened. But we were there. The spirit is there because I feel it and I smell it in every training session and every game. And we have to continue. So we know where we're going to play and we're going to try.
Can I just check, is Vico Gonzalez going to be ready for Saturday?
I don't know yet.
Last two, Mike and Martin. You've won a lot of semi-finals before, but today you seemed, it's the first leg as well, you seemed extremely kind of motivated and delighted about it. Also, their bench has a lot of strong characters as well. We saw the interaction. Is that a motivating factor sometimes for a coach?
Listen, it's not going to change the fact the club, and to be honest, you win the Carabao Cup or reach the final of the Carabao Cup, you win it. It's how you prove in these stages, how we behave, how we play for the future, for this club, for the future in this month, how we have to behave. To be aware that we can do it, that we can compete in our way and against incredible team in this stadium and how we how we have to behave. That is the point. At the end, of course, we want to win. Our semi-finals, we want to win it. But there's something important, much important than that. Is be aware that the way you have to play, you have to do it in maybe, hopefully, in the later stages in the Champions League, and of course in the incredible tough run of games we have in the Premier League. And this is what you have to try to do.
What? You just, as you said, you had a couple of disappointing results. You've got performance before the last couple of games. But with your experience, do you sometimes sort of sniff the air and feel that things are coming right and know that?
Not for today. They asked me against Sunderland and New Year's Eve, and they asked me against Chelsea and Brighton, the team. I said, no, the team is there, the spirit is there. Comparing, always have been there except last season. So the spirit is there. But we play in Premier League, an extraordinary team, and I know that it's not easy. We know the reality. You have to make a second incredible leg in the Premier League to be there until the end. But extraordinary, what means extraordinary? Then it's win and win and win and win. And I know it's in the situation they have in defenders and everything will not be easy. Hopefully Omar come back soon to give rest to Erling, because Erling is exhausted and we need this kind of stuff. So I don't know. But at the end, when you have a problem, how you overcome as a team, as everyone, that is the point.
But do you sense the desire in your players?
But it was in Sunderland. It was before, when the people say no, it's over. No, it was there. It was there. We missed chances in the 6-yard box alone. So today, Cherky scored a goal. We had the chances there, and we missed it. So how many? The ball is tricky. The ball sometimes is oh my God, I want to kick the ball. You know that? And it's happened. It's football. But the important is the vibe and the team have been from the beginning. For the beginning, have been there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Manchester United head coach, but his return to the club was confirmed last night. So what are his priorities at Old Trafford? We can go live to the club's training ground now and join our football correspondent, Rob Dorset. Right, Rob, good morning to you. Beautiful backdrop. Day one for Carrick. What is on that all-important to-do list?
Well, look, the biggest priority for Michael Carrick is to get to know his new coaching staff, never mind getting to know his new squad of players, because whilst he knows a lot of them, he doesn't know Steve Holland, for example, never worked with him before, neither has Jason Wilcox, Manchester United's director of football. And so they brought him in because of his experience, because of his pedigree, because of all he's done with elite managers in the past, and of course with Gareth Southgate at England, where he got to 4 major tournaments. But getting to know how he works, I think he will lead training, I think will be really, really interesting. We can show you the pictures of Michael Carrick and his assistant at Middlesbrough, who's now on the coaching staff here at Manchester United, Jonathan Woodgate, alongside him. They arrived at 7:51 this morning. The entire new coaching staff was in by 8:30 and the players all started arriving around 9 o'clock. My understanding is that they will hold an introductory meeting, probably happening about now as I speak to you, where Carrick will lay down to the players exactly what he expects of them, how he's going to work and the targets for the rest of the season before they get out onto the training field and hold their first training session with the squad, who've had the last 2 days off. They were scheduled days off, so it all starts today for Carrick and his new Manchester United squad. But he's got to hit the ground running because he's got only 3 training sessions before a baptism of fire, before his first game in charge, the Manchester Derby, live on Sky Sports, of course, Saturday lunchtime.
Yeah, OK, Rob, just stay there if you can. I'm going to ask Darragh a question, then come back to you if you don't mind. The big question for Manchester United. Good morning, by the way, Darragh.
Good morning.
If Carrick does secure Champions League qualification, which would be quite the feat, should he get the job permanently?
Ideally for United, probably not, because obviously it's not the sexy choice, probably for a lot of fans and a lot of people. But for Carrick himself, he's got to do a couple of things. One, yes, you've got to get Champions League qualification to have a chance of getting a job. And 2, the style of play's got to look good. If he can go in there and get them up and running and get the crowd excited and go back to the old school Man United, wide players, pace, attack, goals, knock off some big results. And I'm not talking about hanging on to beat somebody with a late goal. If he can put all that together and put some unbeaten runs together by the end of the season, then he's got a great chance. And other than that, if he doesn't get a job after doing all of that, he'll probably have his pick of jobs in the summer. So it's actually a win-win for him.
Yeah, I can understand that. Rob's still there for us. Right, Rob, from Manchester United's perspective, I've just been asking Darragh that question. Do you think that Carrick could stay on beyond the summer if he gets Champions League football?
It's certainly a possibility, but I think every time I get on the show with Darragh McAntony, I seem to agree with him. I think he's spot on in what he's just said there. Not necessarily that Manchester United want a sexy name, but I think, look, Manchester United have learnt a lesson from what happened with Ruben Amorim. They've looked at it and gone, well, OK, Erik ten Hag and Ruben Amorim were both coaches at no disrespect, but not elite clubs in Europe, and they had a big step up to come to Old Trafford. And what's been explained to me is that the United's bosses right now felt that the job was too big for Amorim. The emotional response he had in a lot of news conferences, the way they felt he gave an unstable picture to the players. I might be here tomorrow, I might be still here in 20 years, I might be gone tomorrow. I'm rubbish, the players are rubbish, the players are brilliant. Those mixed messages they felt created instability and showed a lack of experience and a lack of ability to cope with a job of this magnitude. And from the people I spoke to close to Amorim, made it clear to me that Amorim was surprised at just how much noise there is about Manchester United, both inside and outside the building. So I don't think Manchester United want to make that same mistake again. I think when they go for a new head coach in the summer, they will go for some of the very big names. Maybe Carlo Ancelotti, maybe Luis Enrique, maybe Thomas Tuchel. That's the calibre of coach I think they're going to look at. Whether Manchester United can attract that calibre of coach for where they are right now, possibly not offering European football, certainly budget's very, very tight. The club's still in transition as they build for the future. I think that's a separate question, whether they can attract that calibre of coach, but I think that's their plan. And so that might make it difficult for Michael Carrick to try and compete with those, because he just hasn't got the same sort of CV that Ancelotti and Tuchel, etc. have got. But Darrag's absolutely right. He's the man in possession right now. If he can get off to a good start in these really difficult opening games against Manchester City and Arsenal, those are the first two games he's got up, and if he can achieve Champions League football, then he can't do much more than that, and he will certainly be considered as a candidate if he can achieve that for Manchester United in the 17 games of the season he's got left.
We are running a poll this morning. It's quite simple. Should Carrick get the job if he gets Champions League football? It's very, very split, actually. 52% saying no, so not far off 50-50 there, 48% saying yes, he should. Darragh, in terms of in January, every manager wants reinforcements, but sure. Carrick, he is officially head coach, but his contract is until the end of the season. Do you think he'll have any say on transfers?
I don't think he'll have a massive say. I'm not sure if previous managers had a massive say recently, but I think, look, in his inbox, his in tray, what's Carrick got to do? He's obviously got to win over the players. He's got to win over the fans. He's got to win over the media. He's got to win football games. He's got to do it stylistically really well. And he's obviously got to get them in the Champions League. I don't think he's worried about who they can sign this month. He's got to work with the group that he's got. He's got to bring them all together. The last couple of games haven't gone to plan under Fletch. So they got to look at that and go, right, how do we hit the Champions League and how do we do this? So, like I said prior, this is perfect for Carrick, because if he goes in there and he has a good go, and let's say he falls short and he finishes 5th or 6th, but it looks good on the eye, he'll have his pick of some big jobs in the summer. If he goes in there and hits 4th place, and they do it with style, and they score a lot of goals doing it, then you'll have the clamour from the fans to want to give him the job. For the owners, it'll be an easy decision. So it's going to be really interesting to see, but I like the backroom staff they put together. He's got a lot of experience in there. The Steve Holland one was an interesting one, and probably the surprise for me, and probably the best one they've done.
Right, actually, I want to get to Steve Holland in a moment, Rob, but just on those transfers, do you think Carrick will have any say? I'm just trying to think. Permanent transfers, maybe not, but in terms of maybe loans with options to buy, maybe he would be back. That's just me speaking out loud.
Look, United won't change the system. Whoever the head coach is, whether it's Ruben Amorim or whether it's Michael Carrick, the system remains the same and the plan remains the same. And that is that, of course, the head coach is consulted before any recruitment is carried out. So Carrick will have a say. But look, I don't want to give the impression that I expect Manchester United to do a lot of business in the January transfer window. I don't. There's a big part of me that thinks they might not bring anybody in this month. Yes, they were in for Semenyo and missed out to Manchester City, but Semenyo was a long-term target for Manchester United, and they knew that the only chance they had to get him was in this January window. So they brought forward their plans, and they would have made the money available. That doesn't mean they've suddenly got £65 million to spend elsewhere on players. They just won't do it, because they've had a long-term plan over several transfer windows to reorganise and restructure the squad. The summer transfer window was all about the numbers numbers, the data they'd done in the background that said, look, we aren't scoring enough goals. The quickest way to get us up the table is to score more goals. And guess what? This season, Manchester United are scoring more goals. And guess what? They've gone up the table. They're 7th in the Premier League with a chance of making Champions League football. So on the face of it, even though there's still a lot wrong with the squad and the club right now, that bit seems to be working right. They got that right. It was always the next transfer window where they were going to address the next big problem in the squad, one that they're struggling with now. They desperately need a central defensive midfield player. They're looking at João Gomez. They're looking at Adam Wharton, Elliot Anderson, Carlos Baleba. These are the big names that they want. But you're talking £80 million probably for each of those. Manchester United would like to get 2 if they possibly can. So they're not going to spend money this January that will prejudice their chances of getting the big names in and sticking to their plan in the summer. And Michael Carrick will have to fall in line with that. And Ruben Amorim did. He didn't like it. He wanted to strengthen in January, and there was some friction between him and Jason Wilcox over that. There won't be friction with Michael Carrick. He's come into this job with his eyes open. He knows he's got to work with the squad that he's got.
And Darragh, you brought up the coaching setup. Rob, you know that Steve Holland is coming in, as Darragh mentioned. Jonathan Woodgate, who's worked with him in the past, has come in. Steve Holland has been at Chelsea. He's understood the pressures of being in the England setup as well. Woodgate has played at the highest level, just like Carrick has as well. But do you think, Darragh, that they've come in terms of helping with the big pressure?
Absolutely.
Which Amorim said he struggled with.
Woodgate's been with him for a long while, so they know each other, and that's probably a management team wherever they go to manage a club. But Steve Holland is a good one because of his experience from England, the big club environment. He'll make it a lot more comfortable for Michael Carrick while he does his day-to-day stuff. So I actually think they've got that spot on. Going back to what Rob was saying there about the window and signing these world-class midfielders and everything else, the other thing you have to consider, even if they did agree a deal for one of those players that Rob's mentioned, and there's 3 or 4 of them in there, do those players want to go to Man United at the moment where they don't know who the manager is going to be? Even though it's not really relevant about transfers who the manager is, if you're one of those players, you're like, well, I kind of want to see the speed of direction Man United are going in, so no, I ain't going in January, I'll wait till the summer and see where this goes.
And Rob, in terms of that backroom staff, how did that come about? It surprised me when I heard Steve Holland's name.
It surprised me as well. It surprised everybody. I don't think he was on the agenda, and that's because he's never worked with Jason Wilcox before. He's never worked with Michael Carrick before. He's never had any connection with Manchester United before. So that definitely came out of left field. But I think you have to say it's a bit of a coup for Manchester United. It was Michael Carrick's suggestion to go for him. Everybody knew that he was out of work and he was available. So look, the truth is, with Manchester United's finances right now, that appealed. They didn't have to pay compensation or wrestle him out of another club. But you look at some of the managers he's worked with in the past. Came into Chelsea in 2009 under Andre Villas-Boas. He then worked with Roberto Di Matteo, Rafa Benitez, Jose Mourinho, Gus Hiddink, Antonio Conte, and then Gareth Southgate with the England setup, where they went to 4 major tournament finals, 2 European Championship finals in that time. He's been there and he's done it. He's worked with the best players in the world. He's now at Manchester United. I think that's a good move from Manchester United to get his experience, his nous in there, alongside what is a pretty fledgling coaching staff the rest of the time. And I expect Steve Holland to be the man who's leading things on the training field, talking to Michael Carrick directly about the tactical preparation for the Manchester City game on Saturday. He's going to be a really important voice for Michael Carrick and the rest of the coaches as Manchester United try to build towards the end of this season. And I would just say as well, I suspect Steve Holland's been a little bit nervous today as well. He's never been involved in club football for the last 8 years. So this is the first time where he's going back to the day-to-day training and running of a football club. He didn't have that under Gareth Southgate. He didn't have that with England. So it's all a bit new for everybody today. And so that's why the introductory meeting that's happening right now, I think, where the coaches are talking to the players, I think the next few days, everybody's going to learn a lot about each other. And that means it's a bit of an unknown spectrum, an unknown quantity, what Manchester United will look like and how they're going to perform in this first game live on Sky Sports on Saturday lunchtime.
Rob, just a quick question. And I don't want to think conspiracy-wise here, but has Steve Holland been planted in there with an eye on Gareth Southgate for the summer?
That's exactly what Charlie Austin said yesterday. Yeah, exactly the same thing, Rob. So a lot of people are obviously saying that. I know sometimes you put 2 and 2 together.
You did say that, right? Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
But no,
you can tell I watched the show on my days off.
Sometimes you put 2 and 2 together, and actually it's
right. Okay.
What do you make of that, Rob? Because I was surprised when Charlie said it, but I also did see the sense to it, and Darragh said it as well.
Yeah.
there's sense to it, but it's categorically not happening. Listen, Gareth Southgate is not on the radar of Manchester United right now. I'm sorry to ruin that story, because it would be a great story. And Steve Holland and Gareth Southgate are very, very close. They're close friends, irrespective of what they've achieved together with England. But no, my understanding is that Manchester United are not interested in Gareth Southgate to potentially take the job long term, and it's certainly not a precursor to him coming in. The fact that his good friend and assistant has been employed right now.
Which is that Xavi Alonso, his stock was so high after what he did at Bayer Leverkusen, but already his time is up at Real Madrid, and it's good pal Alvaro Arbeloa replacing him. A, are you surprised at the Xavi Alonso news that it didn't pan out? And B, do you see Arbeloa being a long-term solution?
Well, first of all, we have to admit that we have been very surprised about the dismissal from Xabi Alonso, but we have already revealed on December 11 that Jurgen Klopp was a candidate for Real Madrid in the case that Real Madrid should dismiss Xabi Alonso, and this has happened. This has happened right now. Yes, we know Arbeloa is the head coach right now. We understand that he has a contract until 2027. But what is new and what we can reveal is that Jurgen Klopp is still a candidate for Real Madrid in case that they decide to appoint a new manager in the summer. And this is much more important. Despite Klopp's long-term contract with Red Bull and his appreciation for all of the Red Bull projects, we can say that Real Madrid hold a major appeal for Jurgen Klopp. And if Real Madrid were to make a serious move for Jurgen Klopp, we can say Klopp would give it a serious consideration. He would seriously consider to return as a head coach, and he is serious considering to join Real Madrid in summer.
Well, that would be a story, wouldn't it? Absolutely. Herr Plettenberg, thank you very much. Before we talk about Aston Villa and that man behind us there, Tammy Abraham, who's just disappeared, and Donyell Marlin, because there's so much coming out of Aston Villa, we've got to pick up on that. Yeah. Jurgen Klopp, Real Madrid, I mean, there were links there quite a while ago. That probably to the powers that be at the Bernabeu would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think if you're Jurgen Klopp, you can't really say no to Real Madrid. I mean, nobody really says no to Real Madrid. With the squad that they have, I think what Klopp would look into, though, is that Xabi Alonso came in with a clear idea of what he wanted, with a dressing room that he wanted to work in a certain way, far away from the Carlo Ancelotti chilled approach, let's say, a very pragmatic approach. He had a plan. He wanted them to work on certain things. He was quite demanding, and that didn't work out. So for Jurgen Klopp to come with all the gegenpressing and all the intensity and all of that, he will have to also be a bit more like Carlo Ancelotti than being like Xabi Alonso if he wants to succeed there. But I mean, it would be amazing for Mbappe and Vinicius and the others to have Klopp on the bench.
It would have to be something as colossal as that to tempt him out of what is a beautiful job that he's got now. I saw him in Mallorca over Christmas.
Yeah, he was in Paris the other day
with me, but I saw him. You know, he's played
paddle with him.
He's played.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
Yeah, you and Jurgen playing paddle, sipping your
Just
cappuccinos on the beach. I can see it.
He's bored of that now. He wants back into it, and that if it's something that big, wow,
he's
what a
got
return that would be.
Doesn't he? He's had his time away. You know, the reason he left Liverpool was he just felt run down and exhausted by the managerial carousel, but he's had his time off and he wants back, and what better to come back to than arguably the biggest club in the world.
Can you tell us?
A bit of an update for you, Will. Manchester United and Michael Carrick have reached a verbal agreement for him to become the interim head coach until the end of the season, getting ever close to officially confirming him as interim head coach until the end of the season. Negotiations went on late last night, and we've been told when all the outstanding issues were ironed out, the contractual details are now being finalised by lawyers, and all of those final details, but we're expecting Carrick to sign that all-important paperwork and confirm his position as Manchester United's newest interim head coach later this afternoon. Now, we'll bring you those pictures as soon as we can, but we've also just heard that Michael Carrick and Director of Football Jason Wilcox have arrived at Carrington as of 5 or 10 minutes ago. So all of this is heading in that trajectory of Carrick officially being confirmed later on today of their new head coach. And look, both sides are keen to get this done as soon as possible, really. We've been telling you all morning, the players are due back into training tomorrow to prepare for the Manchester derby on Saturday against Manchester City. And look, Carrick also, it's important to say that he will know a lot of this squad. He'll know the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire. So it'll be very interesting to see what it's like when he first meets them, again, having left the club 3 years ago, having worked under Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But just to recap that news, Manchester United and Michael Carrick have now reached a verbal agreement for him to take over as an interim head coach until the end of the season.
Dan, thank you very much. So there we go, starting to move the news at Old Trafford, Jeff. And Dan mentioned the next game, the Manchester derby at Old Trafford on Saturday. Guess what's after that? A trip to the Emirates, Arsenal away. I mean, if you're going to get those guys on side, those fans, those doubters, those cynics that perhaps thinks, you know, let's move quicker and faster than someone like Michael Carrick. He actually then plays his old team, Tottenham and West Ham, to come. It's going to be a busy few weeks, but what an opportunity for him.
Yeah, massive. Every game in the Premier League's big, but if he can get the players to, you know, put a good performance in, one that the fans will like, that'll be, you know, his first port of call. And then if he can pick up points out of them games, because I don't think realistically people outside of being United fans, they don't give United a chance to win the next two games. So if he can pick up points, it'll definitely get people on side.
I was just going to say as well, interesting off the back of your chat with Dermot there about Xavi Alonso. You know, he was the hottest young manager in Europe, wasn't he, after what he did at Bayer Leverkusen. Takes a big job at Real Madrid, arguably the biggest club in the world, and it's all gone up in smoke inside 8 months. Who was the hottest European manager before Xavi Alonso? Ruben Amorim, after what he did at Sporting, gets a job at a massive club and it all goes terribly wrong as well. So perhaps a cautionary tale there. I don't know.
On the transfer show, Colin Gallagher, we thought was going to Villa. Now looks like he's going to Spurs. Carve.
Yeah, just an update from our Tottenham reporter, Michael Bridge. He is saying that Tottenham are close to agreeing a deal with Atletico Madrid to sign Conor Gallagher. Discussions between the clubs are for a permanent transfer. We understand Atletico want around £26 million for the former Chelsea midfielder. He signed for the Spanish club in the summer of 2024 for around £38 million. And he's still got a contract at Atletico until the summer of 2029. I think what's happening here is that this season he's not been playing regularly, especially in La Liga. I think he's only started about 4 games. And of course, the World Cup is coming up. He wants regular football. We know Spurs have got injury problems. So I think on paper, this makes a lot of sense.
Does it, though? Because very good player, though, Conor Gallagher is, Mark. He's not a creative midfielder. Isn't that what Tottenham need?
I think Tottenham need a lot. I think Tottenham need various types of midfielders. But what I think they'll get in Conor Gallagher is a player that will be box-to-box and bring energy. And a lot of experience as well. He's only 25 years old, but he's played for England. He's played in the Premier League. How many times have we seen those players that have come over from Europe over the course of the summer in the £3.4 billion that was spent? How many of them have actually had the impact that's needed in their early Premier League career, whereas the risk of bringing someone over who's already played in the Premier League, speaks the language, is not going to have a problem settling in the country and understand the rigours of top-flight football in this country, it lessens the risk that you take as a football club. And this is quite fascinating. We used to say like a hijack was almost a phrase that a transfer reporter would use when they'd got some information wrong. You know, they'd be saying, a player's going here, this is what I'm being told, this is where he's going, this is all done and dusted, and then he'd go somewhere else. So instead of turning around and saying, actually, we got it wrong, they'd say, hijack. He's been hijacked. But this feels like 2 Premier League sides that have gone toe-to-toe for the same player. We were going to talk about Aston Villa and their interest with regards to Conor Gallagher. They were interested in taking him on loan initially and then potentially with an obligation to make that permanent in the summer. Whereas Tottenham have not mucked around. They've gone straight to the table and says, we don't want him on loan, we want him now, this is what we'll pay. And because he's been lacking in game time for Atletico Madrid, and like Carve said, he's actually played 27 times for Madrid this season. But a lot of them have been in European competition or cup competition. He's not started many La Liga games, which I guess is where the problem lies.
So is the most significant part of all of this that the club are backing the manager, Thomas Frank?
That's a very good point. I think the owners have let it be known that after the Daniel Levy era, they were going to focus on bringing trophies and on-field success to Tottenham. And a lot of the supporters feel like those promises haven't been kept. The Spurs fans are very unhappy at the moment, and they wanted to see something from the club during this window. And I think the injury problems are so bad, and the situation off the pitch is pretty serious as well, that the board felt like they needed to do something. And I think on paper, this is a very, very good move because, as Mark says, this is an exceptional player with Premier League experience. When he went out on loan from Chelsea to Palace, he ended up being the Palace player of the season. This will be a bitter blow for some Chelsea supporters because Chelsea fans loved him. They loved the way he played. They loved his energy. And really, the only reason one of the main reasons he left Chelsea was because of the PSR rules about the fact that he was a homegrown player and selling him, the transfer fee could be banked as pure profit. So he is a great player, and I'm sure he will have improved having worked with Diego Simeone in Spain as well.
Yeah, very quickly, Mark, will there be any more transfer activity at Spurs?
Yes, one deal that is actually close, the Santos left-back, Sousa. The fee that has been agreed between the two clubs is around £13 million. The structure of the deal, the final details are just being discussed at the moment. He's actually a player that, whilst he's only 19 years old, and a lot of Tottenham fans will be saying, well, you know, is he going to be any good for us now? There is actually a belief within Tottenham that he is someone that can have an impact on this Premier League season. But, of course, is very much one for the future as well. He's also on the radar of Carlo Ancelotti at Brazil. So, you know, if he's thought of in those kind of circles, it means he's a real talent. We had Tim Vickery on Sky Sports News last week who spoke glowingly about him and what he'll bring and his energy and the attributes that he has. So, yeah, it could suddenly look like a different picture for Tottenham Hotspur fans tonight. Yes, the injury to Bentancur, but Conor Gallagher, nice and solid. Sousa coming in.
Dragoshin going, yes or no?
Potentially to Roma. We reported from our colleague Sky Italy that Roma's #1 centre-back target in this window was Dragoshin. However, Tottenham aren't going to let him go unless they're totally comfortable. And whilst at the moment they have a number of injury concerns, I would put this in the box of keep an eye on it. Nothing close as of yet. But absolutely, there is a chance he could go. Just the one appearance so far for Spurs this season. Had a real injury nightmare. Never really got a consistent run in the team. So actually, it probably feels like his time in North London is coming to an end. Roma, the likely destination.
A lot of people talking about the Super Eagles now and how well they're doing. How has the tournament been for you particularly and the players?
I mean, to be honest, it's always a great pleasure to put on the Super Eagles shirt and represent the country. And I think personally for me, it's a great privilege, and also for the rest of the boys, because among 200 million people or 150 players in Nigeria, you're picked to represent your country is a big honor. And we all know what it means to a lot of Nigerians to try to make a statement here. Considering the fact that we didn't make it to the World Cup, and for me, I think what I've seen so far since I've made my debut in the Super Eagles, this has been one of the most exciting squad, in recent time, and I think there's really more to come from us. And we also have a coach that's very demanding and knows what he wants and what he expects from the whole squad. So yeah, I'm really happy personally about my my involvement in this squad, and I still have a lot to give, but I think so far so good. I'm pleased with myself.
Talking about the squad, what makes the squad? How different are they from the one that made the finals in Côte d'Ivoire 2 years ago?
I mean, you talk about the one that made the final in Cote d'Ivoire, and you have to give props to the former manager, Posero. He actually did a great job, and he also have his way of bringing the best out of the players. I think he and Eric has something similar. You know, they demand a lot from the players, and when you're giving shot of that, you might not get talked on immediately, but I think they have this way of communicating with the players to try to let them know the mistakes they've made and what they did right and everything. So I think both of them has a winning mentality, regardless of the kind of situation we find ourselves. And for me, I think Posero did actually a very great job with us. You know, I think also the new manager also is doing amazingly well. We know what he's done with his former country, the Malian team, and right now I think the intensity in which the new gaffer demands from the whole squad is actually really scary. You know, many of us are not really used to coaches demanding this kind of intensity in terms of being in the national team. But
is that more like about the attacking flair? Because people talk a lot about how now the Super Eagles are scoring a lot of goals and keeping a clean sheet.
Yeah, I mean, for every goal we concede, we get punished the next day in training, like in a good way actually. But just like I said earlier, he's really a demanding coach, and from the first day he spoke to me, I know he's a person that has vision for this squad, for our country, because now he's Nigerian also. So I think personally for me, he's someone that I like, and just like every other player, and he and the staff has been amazing person, amazing people on and off the pitch, because the way they communicate with the player, the way they joke with the player, you know, I think for me there is no better way to try to give you all for your manager, to try to make sure that he's satisfied with you. And of course we make mistakes, and we try to correct it, and at the end of the day he's angry, he's playing up, but at the end of the day he will come to you and give you a big hug and let you know the mistakes and what you did so right. So for me, I think this kind of manager, you know, as a player, you want to give you everything for him.
You've touched upon more than 200 million Nigerians. As we all know, on social media, everybody's a coach as well. Is there pressure you feel because Nigeria haven't qualified for the World Cup this summer? Do you feel this pressure then for you to atone that by winning the Africa Cup of Nations?
I mean, you mean the squad or me?
Both, I guess.
I mean, personally, for me, I think I've come a long way in my career. I think for me, I never felt any pressure, at least for a few years now. There is no pressure. The only pressure that I have for me is to continue to improve as a player and as a man. So also for the squad, because you check the squad, we have almost 70% or 80% of experienced players that have played football at the highest level. So for me, I think the whole squad is calm. We're just doing our job. We're just doing what the coach orders us to do on the pitch and how he wants us to play. So for me, I think he deserves the praise as well as the rest of the squad, because to be honest with you, we've been playing amazingly well. I think we've been doing so well that when we look at the video, for each action the coach shows us, we always clap for ourselves, because I mean, we know we had the squad, we know we had the talent to play, but now we've gotten someone that, you know, that knows how to put this talent in places, that knows when to unleash the beast he has in his corner. So for me, I think I'm really pleased with the squad. I'm really happy about the mentality of the whole squad. I mean, it's not just the leaders of the team, but everyone has to take responsibilities, and to be honest, everyone is doing that, and I'm really happy about that.
There's a lot of talking point with you when it comes to Rashidi Yakini's record. You're 2 goals short of equaling and breaking his record. I know you've spoken about how, you know, you're not comparing yourself to him. For many, he's regarded Nigeria's greatest goal scorer. But when the dust settles, what would it mean to you to equal and break that record? Because you are very close.
I mean, to be honest with you, most of the time, I really don't know about who is holding the record as at that time. So when they start, you know, coming out, and I got few close friends that show me and try to motivate me that yeah, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And I know that I have the ability to do it, considering the kind of amount of talent that I have around me in the national team. I know that I can do it. But at the same time, it's amazing to be up there with the greats. To know that what I'm doing now, I've dreamt of it as a young child, watching the Super Eagles play. Although I didn't watch Mr. Rashidi Yekini in blessed memory, but I didn't watch him play. But, he's done something that have inspired a lot of people that inspires me. Also like Odion Igalo, in which I draw a lot of inspiration from, as well as Obafemi Martins. So for me to be up there and on the verge of trying to break this record, is something that I will never forget in my life. It's something that I will hold on higher esteem. So for me, it's an honor, to be talked in a almost in the same conversation with the great Rashidi Yekini. So to be honest with you, I'm trying to look forward to, to qualify the way I feel. But to be honest with you, just like I said earlier, and I'll keep on saying it, Rashidi Yekini is the greatest striker of all time in terms of the Super Eagles. And of course, many other Super Eagles strikers also inspire me. But I draw so many inspiration from Odion Igalo and Obafemi Martins, because these people are, these are people that have also come through for me when I needed this one or two advice, and they've helped me also in my career so far going forward. And I won't forget Onazi also. He's actually a big brother to me. So for me, I think these guys have, whatever I achieve here, I attribute some of them to these guys.
And of course, there's a big semi-final game against the host Morocco. Are you feeling pressure at all coming to face one of the tournament favorites? As well, Nigeria now as well are one of the favorites.
I mean, they have a very good squad, talented players, But I think we are one of the most feared team in this tournament. Considering the kind of talent we have in the squad. But I think there is no pressure within the camp. There is no pressure. We don't even talk about it within ourselves. We just take one game as they come. We just play the very big nation, Algeria. We just display something that the whole world see that, yeah, these guys are really up for this trophy. But just like I used to say, it's not going to be easy. Of course, the Moroccans are playing in front of the thousands of their crowd, which is an advantage for them. But I think many of us here has played in a stadium where there is 80, 90 capacity. So for me personally, there's absolutely no pressure at all. I don't even think about it. I just focus on my team, and then when the day of the game comes, we give everything, and then we hope for the win for us. But it's not going to be easy. But I think we've got a chance. Quickly,
2 more games: the semi-finals if you win, then the final. When you picture possibly winning the Africa Cup of Nations, you were so close in Côte d'Ivoire as finalists, as I said. When you picture holding that trophy in your hands, what do you see? What do you feel? What do you think?
I mean, fulfillment, I think, to be honest with you, if we do this, it's going to be massive for us. It's going to be massive because the last time that we won it as a country is 2013. Mm-hmm. And then these guys are still talked about, when it comes to Nigerian football. So for us, as an individual, as a collective, as a squad, from the coach down to the medical doctor, everyone, we want to be part of history. We are not here to make up numbers, and we've shown that since the start of this tournament. And for me, it's going to be, I don't know how to put it, but the excitement is going to be crazy. But I think for us, just like the rest of the players also have in their head and the back of their mind, I think we want to win this trophy. We really want to win it. And just like you said, the 2 finals, which is one of the most important 290 minutes or 120 minutes to play for, is the most important in our career. But I think there is no pressure. Just like I said, within the camp, there is no pressure. On Wednesday, we're going to go there, give our everything, and also try to get the win, which is the most important thing for now. And then we talk about the final.
And finally, if Nigeria do win a few days later, Champions League with Galatasaray, your club, Atletico Madrid, will you be playing in that?
Oh, of course, definitely. Of course, I think I miss them, and but my country needs me, and I'm here. I'm giving my everything, which they understand also, and they've been supportive from afar. But after I'm done here, I have to go back immediately to try to, you know, be in the squad, to try to see if I can add 1 or 2 things also in the squad, just like as I've always done. But first of all, I'm looking forward to Wednesday and then the final, inshallah, and then we'll see what happens.
What do you expect in the Champions League with Galatasaray this season? What are your aims? How far do you think?
I mean, the club has set, you know, objective for the season, and then the Champions League, to go far, to try to make a statement. The Champions League will mean a lot to the whole Galatasaray fan worldwide, and myself and the rest of my teammates, we have this at the back of our mind. That's why we're trying to make a statement. We're trying to give everything. Of course, we lost the last game against Monaco, and then I think it's at the back of our mind now. We just want to focus on the next one, which is against Atletico. Of course, a very great team, which is not going to be easy. But I think we've got the squad to execute that game and to try to get the win.
Thank you, Victor. All the best with Nigeria.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount Plus.